with him and with God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Eight. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Yes. Commissioner Andreola, present. Mr. Bella.
Present.
Councilwoman Bybee. Here. Mr. Cronos.
Here.
Mr. Faragi.
Here.
Mr. Jacobs.
Here.
Mr. Long.
Here.
Ms. Young. Here. And Chair Sheeby. You have a form.
Thank you. Right, we'll move to item E, which are public comment. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment at this time.
Okay. Item C is our consent agenda. We have items C1, C2, and C3. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, or are there items that need to be pulled by any of our members?
Move to approve consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bybee.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, our consent agenda is approved. Move to item D. D1 is our presentation, our department updates. Who do we have first? Mr. Larragatta?
Good morning. Thanks,
Good morning.
Diane. Appreciate it. Today will just be myself, a few housekeeping updates. I'll let the IT department load the deck here, and then we'll jump into it. And I'm sorry to make it around and say good morning to everybody, but for those on the street. We had a great agenda today. All right, let's see. Here we go. Okay, as I always do, every month, I lead off the discussion to recognize our spotlight employee of the month. And for the month of May, I'm excited to announce that the winner is Kristen Spracklin. Kristen started her career at the RSCVA on November 13th, 2023 as the venue sponsorship sales manager. I've asked Executive Director Renee McGinnis to provide some comments, and here's what Renee had to say about Kristen. Kristen Spracklin has made a strong impact in her role as venue sponsorship sales manager during the last 2 years. She is outgoing, dedicated, and has taken the initiative to develop this position by creating sponsorship brochures, pricing, engaging in our community, and expanding sales opportunities. Kristen has successfully sold signage across all 4 venues and secured hospitality suite sales at the Reno Event Center, generating incremental revenue. Her pleasant personality and positive attitude make her a joy to work with, and she collaborates well with the venue sales, marketing, and operation teams who support our clients' experience from the initial sale to installation and billing. Kristen is dependable, team-oriented, and willing to help whenever needed. She is an asset to our team. Congratulations, Kristen. We call her Sprack, but we just recently completed 3 major events, and I wanted to highlight those for the board today. So I did in the last meeting go over the preliminary numbers for the 2nd season of Indoor Track. Mr. Douglas, our room tax audit manager, has provided the audited numbers finishing out season 2, and so I briefly just wanted to share those with the board. Our facility revenues, so this consists of parking, concession, rent for year 2 was just under 200,000 at $190,409. Taxable room revenue for season 2 was 2.5 million, $777,599, and the overall economic impact was just shy of $11 million. The total number of athletes was 6,664, and the room nights generated was 18,934. The second event, which took place in 4 consecutive weekends in April, was the 3 weekends of Northern California Volleyball Association and the USA Volleyball Girls 18. To summarize the impact that these 2 tournaments represented over the 4 weeks or 3 weeks in April and first weekend in May, our Westerns brought 1,900 teams, 22,800 athletes, and generated 28,175 room nights. The girls 18s, which was the 4th weekend, featured 357 teams, 4,284 athletes, and produced just under 13,000 room nights. The 4 weeks of volleyball produced over 41,000 room nights, which is a huge impact, obviously, in generating a foundation and creating compression within the entire market for those 4 consecutive weekends. The third event, which is a new event, was the Rebel Reno Tahoe Marathon, which took place May 15th through the 18th. This certified Boston Marathon race featured 1,416 registered runners representing 42 states and 12 countries, and it produced just over 2,000 room nights. I want to show the board a quick video. We took drone footage. It kind of summarizes where these runners began and where they finished, which was at the peak of Mount Rose. Out of those 1,400 plus runners, over 700 participated in the full marathon. Anyway, great event. We are in discussions with the organization right now to continue that event moving forward. They were very happy with Reno Tahoe as a destination, with our services, with the product, the hotels, and so very probable that we'll extend this event for years to come into the future. As I always do, these were the actual numbers and the states that represented. We did a geography test yesterday so we could identify the states that weren't represented so we could target them, but we didn't do so well. Anyway, 43 states. So as I always do, jumping into the numbers, when you look at the month of April, you see tremendous results. It's amazing what was actually accomplished in the month of April. When you look at comparison of 26 versus 25, as the numbers say, overall room tax, and I'll call out just a few of these numbers, I'll highlight a few of these. Overall room tax revenue up 25.8%, ADR up 6.5%. Group sales was down, but that's actually what's booked within the month for future. That is not consumed room nights within the month. Overall group room nights within the month obviously were very high due to volleyball and the marathon, which carried into May, but we did have some early arrivals there. And then tourism was up 33%. And then the last two categories, which I think are very important, is visitor count was up over 13%, overall occupancy 9.6%. Looking at how we performed versus budget, again, very impressive numbers, 33.8% over room tax revenue, 13% ADR, 12% over occupancy, and again, visitor count up almost over 14% over our budget. So how are we pacing year to date? July through April versus July through April 2025. Overall room tax revenue up 5.8%. ADR is basically flat. Occupancy up 4%. Visitor count just under 5%. Group sales trending up. Tourism sales trending up. We are on pace right now, if we just hit budget for May and June, to set a record for room tax revenue for the year from the history of the RSCVA. There's a possibility that we may hit a number of over 500 million in total room revenue for fiscal year 25-26.
Wow.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Then of course,
Your
budget.
kind of predicted that, didn't you? You predicted that.
Yes, Mr. Corona was pretty accurate. Should have been given that.
Let's keep it going.
I gotta give him that. And then, of course, budget versus budget, again, trending very well in terms of our performance. Again, depending on how May and June finish, but the numbers will be much higher than the budget that we came in, which is a great position to be in. As Mr. Chisel always says, we have to make the money to spend the money. We don't want to overspend if we don't have the money. So it's a very good position to be in. The market is performing at a very high level. So thank you to all of our stakeholders. Thank you for allowing us to solicit and bring business to Northern Nevada and accepting the contracted rooms that we put and supporting all of our marketing initiatives. Okay. Any questions on my update? It's all good news.
Yeah, that's a great report. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any questions from our members? Right,
Uh,
Mr. Bryan.
These numbers are produced by our finance department, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do we have an internal auditor in the organization?
We do not.
Hmm.
You know.
Is there a reason we do not have an internal auditor?
I'm gonna defer Mr. Chisel because he's been here longer than I have, but,
One, we're not of the size that it would justify having an internal auditor just auditing an organization our size. We have external auditors, which was approved in the consent agenda, Baker Tilly. They're external auditors. They come in and will audit our organization every year.
Because I remember when I was on the board the last time, or if I remember correctly, we did have an internal auditor. And I don't know how long it's been since we have not had one. And I think something to be discussed, because I'm always a believer in checks and balances in business. And I'm not saying these numbers are accurate. As Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. So I just want to make sure that as we go through the budget process, there are questions in here and that.
Well, and Baker Tilly, who did our audit last year, will come in and verify all those numbers for the board and for the public. So those the financial numbers will all be verified by an external auditor who's independent.
We have that on the agenda. Is there a task that they are going to be doing here is spelled out? Because we got this package on Tuesday and Wednesday, and today is Thursday. There's no way to do all your homework. There's no way to do your get the package on Tuesday, Wednesday, and we expect to be here on Thursday and know what to ask for, how to look at this. But is it what they are going to be auditing? Is that spelled out in their proposal?
Yeah, it is is identical to any other organization. When you have an external auditor, they have a scope of work and they will measure the risk that they determine of our organization and use that risk assessment to focus their audit. And you know, they audit all the way back to source documents and all the way to the financial statement.
Okay, are they going to be making presentation?
They do a yearly presentation of the financial statements. The financial statements will probably come to the board in November, December timeframe.
Thank you.
Mr. Bragi, Mr. Douglas, who is occasionally gives me news to share with the board based on questions asked. The last time we had an internal auditor was a gentleman by the name of Rick Dinsky, and he retired in 2008.
2008. Thank you. I knew we used to have it, so it's time goes by that fast. Okay.
It does. Great question. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to item E, which are board matters. Item E1, we will be opening a public hearing for review and adoption of the Reno Sparks Convention and Visitors Authority for fiscal year 26-27 budget and a resolution number 605. So I'm hereby opening the public hearing. Are there public comments, Madam Clerk?
No public comment at this time.
Okay, so we have a budget presentation from
Yes.
Mr. Chisel. Oh, yes.
Vice Chair, and if I could tee it up here, because we are going to switch up the order a little bit in terms of the presentations.
Okay.
And so the order, we will start with Todd Holloway, who is our Senior Marketing Events Manager. Tasha is going to be presenting the recommended fiscal year 2026-27 special events funding. For those of you that are new to the board, every year we put out the opportunity for organization and events to request funding from the RSCVA. This committee reviews all of those applications. There are qualifications that must be met in order to be eligible for receiving funding from the RSCVA. We then vet all of those applications through this committee. It's a nice 6-hour day. I think we spend in a meeting room going through every single request. We do our best to honor every request as you can imagine, the funding amounts greatly outweigh the approved budget amounts that we have allocated. And so Tasha does an excellent job on behalf of the marketing department. She'll now go through a little history of how this process works and where we finished with our recommendation to the board. And this falls all under the budget. So we made the decision to have Tasha present as part of the budget presentation.
Thank you,
You bet.
Mike. As you mentioned, for those I haven't had a chance to meet yet in person, I'm Tasha Holloway. I'm the Senior Marketing Events Manager here at Visit Reno Tahoe. Mike basically did my whole presentation for me all. So, as you mentioned, I wanted to do a little bit of history on the program. It began in 2007, so it's been around for quite a while. Always ever changing. We audit it every year just to make sure it's up to date. The way that we handle things, the way that criteria is set is looked at every year. It is marketing support specifically for annual events. It comes from the marketing budget, and the efforts are to help these events extend their marketing reach to potentially drive those out of market customers. We have funded over 130 unique events since 2007 at over $6 million. The requirements, and this is just a few of them that we have as far as qualifications for them to apply. They must partner with at least 2 Washoe County properties. The idea is it spreads the love. We want to make sure that it's not just benefiting one property, that we have multiple included. And that could be a room block, discounted room rates, it could be a venue space, anything like that. We want to make sure it's annually held, that they want to come back year after year. And then of course, there's potential to drive room nights. So even in year 1, if it feels more local, if there's a draw potentially for its uniqueness, if it's niche, something like that, that can really drive those regional or national markets. We love that. When the panel sits down, as Mike said, it consists of basically our CEO is always involved. We have marketing staff, and then we have sales staff as well, especially from our sports sales side, because several of our events that we fund are equestrian that come from our sales team. So we have a really diverse group on there that helps make these decisions. When we're discussing the considerations we use, and this is just again a little snippet of what we look at, their room night estimates, which as you can imagine is very challenging to give a complete and clear picture, but they can do estimations of what those room nights look like. And that relies a lot on out of market attendance, right? So if they know what their out of market percentage looks like compared to their attendance, we can look at those room night estimates. What their marketing value is, what it brings to Visit Reno Tahoe, what it brings to the destination, sponsorship deliverables, maybe there's client hosting opportunities, perhaps broadcast opportunities, things like that. Is it perception changing? Of course, if they align with the brand, they really help us change that perception of the destination. That's weighed heavily. And then of course, their marketing goals. What are they asking for with this funding amount, right? We are asking for X amount, how are we using it? And do we feel our support is going to help those efforts? And then looking at this year's cycle, our deadline for the application submission was in April. They have about 6 to 8 weeks on average to fill out and submit their application. We had 54 events apply, which is about on average the last few years has been in the high 40s, low 50s for this. So this is maybe the most we've ever received. It's definitely up there. We had 8 that were brand new to applying for the sponsorship. So we continue to push that communication to get people aware of this program. So it's exciting to see when we have new events come on. We typically work with a $500,000 budget, which is what we're talking about today. That's how our panel looked at this with our award process. We had 1.7 million in requests. And part of that is that they can ask for up to 25% of their total operating budget for this. So a lot of them shoot for the stars and say, what's 25% of my operating budget? Let's go for it. We are choosing as a panel to recommend 418,300 go directly to the special events that applied, with 81,700 in contingency. We always have contingency set aside in case we have any brand new events that are coming on board. If an event just purely wasn't aware of this program, we give other opportunities for events throughout the year. So it's not just a once a year deal. The awards, the outline of the awards themselves are in your board packet. And if you see any on there that received a 0 award recommendation, I did want to mention there are other opportunities for us to support. So if there's ever an event that applies and maybe they feel too local, maybe we don't think that they're necessarily driving room nights or have that ability to, we have other ways that we can support them. Whether it's through our unsolicited proposal program, whether it's marketing support in general. So no one's ever left behind. We just have to make those decisions fairly across the board. So that is basically what I have today. So unless there are any questions, that concludes my presentation today.
Thank you.
Thank
Other
you.
questions from our members? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Tasha. Next, as part of the budget presentation, I'd like to introduce Chris Gordon, who's the general manager from Aramark. Aramark is our contracted food and service provider. Chris has been with us now for
3.5 months.
3.5 months. Relocated from Alabama, I believe, right? He's done a fabulous job in the 3.5 months that he's been with us, so we're very excited to hear their presentation today. Thanks, Chris.
Hi, good morning. Let's get this pulled up for you. But yes, like I said, I just moved here from Alabama, where I oversaw quite a few properties in 6 different states, budgets, everything there. I figured. So I'm just gonna go over the mission for 27. All right. So we'll start with the bad news. Loss of LEC. We're projecting a negative 260,000 for that. Next year there will be no bowling tournament USBC scheduled at NBS, which right now is currently $1 million. I think that is going to be more by the end of this year because it is doing extremely well. And then we had an ADA catering event that we had last January, which was right around 700,000. And as of right now, we do not have a comparable event scheduled. Hopefully that will come up in the near future. Some growth opportunities we have. REC remains the primary growth driver for any events that we can add. Right now, we're looking at 16 to 20 gated events is the expected amount, which will help drastically. When I made the budget, I made it pretty conservative at about a $7.50 per cap, which we have been over that with the first 2 concerts of this year. So that is a plus. Some new things that we're exploring, Mashkin, which is a self-checkout kiosk. I just ordered 4 similar that are tap into. So if you think of McDonald's, when you go in and you can just scan your card instead of walking up to a cashier, we have 4 of those coming in that the RSCVA will be able to not sell, but offer to any guest that is going to be in one of the large halls. We can then staff that with 1 person, offer NA bev, food, alcoholic beverages, and it is a quick service. So I think that will generate some extra revenue for the upcoming year. Speed and efficiency. This will, instead of having to walk out of an event to go out to a concession stand, which we will still have open, they'll have that opportunity to stay inside the convention. Some specialty bar concepts. So UB40 was the first one we rolled out. We did for the Red Wine song, we did a sangria bar. I went in homemade 40 gallons of sangria and we did $1,800 just at that bar, only in sangrias, which I think we sold 160 of them. So that was an excellent start to that. So any event that comes in, comedy specials or concerts, we will look to do a specialty bar for each event if it dictates. We are also going to cut down some beer options for events over at REC, so therefore we can speed up the lines, get them back into the event, hopefully get them to return for that second or third sale as well. So this is for the convention center's projected revenue. So 2.16 million in projected revenue, 1.04 million in labor. The profit before the split would be 139,000, just shy of 140, and then the contingency after management would be 4.5%, 96,700. The REC, again, this is gonna be our biggest area that we can improve. 1.505 million, 86.5 before the split, 65 after. So again, still making money, which is a good thing. NBS will be the one loss as of right now. We still have some events coming in, so I think hopefully we can at least break even on this one, if not turn a profit. Without USBC, these numbers, 206,000 in revenue, negative 33.5 thousand before split, negative 33 or 37.6 after management fee. And then this is current year versus next year's budgets. So as you can see, everything is trending down because of the loss of LEC, no bowling. And then, so let's see if that, I believe that one is it. Does anybody have any questions?
Other questions?
How does this facility compares to all the other facilities that you have worked at? Pluses and minuses, please.
The plus is I don't have to travel to 6 different states, so I love it. I have worked St. Louis Convention Center before. That's when they had the St. Louis Rams football stadium there, so it was it was different. I like this one because it's very team oriented. I can work with RSCVA, go over and ask questions. When you run Kentucky Derby or the US Open Tennis in New York, it's very fast paced. This, you have a little more time to schedule stuff, events to plan for months in advance.
I'm sorry, let me qualify my
Sure.
question. I'm asking what potentials do you see for this facility that we should be looking at as a board to utilize this facility more?
I think the bowling stadium, the movie theater upgrade, I think that is something that we could use. Also talked to Chad about down the road making Stadium Club into a speakeasy. I think that you could open that 1 or 2 days a week, sell a private card, and that would drive people to come in and actually see it, and then maybe want to rent out the movie theater. So, the upgrades that hopefully are gonna get done for the convention center, I think is gonna drive the people to wanna come here and spend their money in Reno.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there additional questions? Okay,
Thanks, Chris.
all right, thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Our last presenter is relates to budget and CIP. The man needs no introduction, Mr. Robert Chisholm, who will present the recommended capital improvement plan for the majority of our venues and then also the annual budget.
And I apologize to the board. I know a lot of you have seen this several times. Thank you all for coming to the pre-boards and those on the finance committee. Sorry for having to sit through this again, but I think it's important, so we'll dive right into it. So the first component we're going to talk about is our capital budget. Just to lay a little groundwork, we at the RSCVA have 3 governmental funds. We have a general fund, a capital projects fund, and a debt service fund. The capital projects fund is used for the acquisition of fixed assets and significant repair of fixed assets. This is, I'm going through as a capital improvement plan, and the 27 budget in total for the capital projects fund is proposed to be $34,431,191. And at the end of it, I'll go into a debt service because they're both tied together in the proposal for this next fiscal year. So the capital projects fund, we're focusing on 3 facilities, the convention center, looking to prolong the life of the asset, enhance customer experience, meet their customer needs, and look at our strategic plan. The bowling stadium is primarily being funded through the $2 surcharge that the city of Reno has. And those projects, the city of Reno is funding. And the Reno Event Center, we're looking to attract entertainment acts and conventions to the event center so we can make that more active as in the strategic plan. So just to go over a couple projects that the city of Reno is undertaking at the bowling stadium and at the event center. A lot of them are not that exciting, but HVAC repairs, UPS uninterruptible power supply replacement, exterior maintenance, lighting, and roof repairs. For the Reno Event Center, they're just finishing up, if they haven't already this week, the bollards along 4th and Center Street. To protect the pedestrians that congregate outside the Reno Event Center. We don't want to Priscilla Ford. Roof repairs and exterior maintenance as well. So those are projects the city of Reno is funding, not through the RSCVA, but we thought it was important information to have. So going into our capital projects fund proposal, the Reno Sparks Convention Center was last expanded in 2001. And that was the last time any major enhancements was done to the facility. And even then, a lot of the facility was not touched. It was as it was and left alone. So that's been 25 years. The facility needs modernization. It needs operational efficiency, better flexibility. And as you know, in 25 years, customers' needs have changed. And most importantly, competition. If you look around the West, all the convention centers have been expanding, enhancing their convention centers. And this is just a slight example of what has taken place in the last 8 years along the West Coast from Anaheim and Las Vegas, Seattle, Denver, Sacramento, Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City is looking at doing a whole residential hotel expansion of their convention center district. Depending on what numbers you're looking at, $1.5 billion may be on the low side. So there's a lot of competition out there for new and enhanced convention centers. So it's important that we keep abreast of what's going on with the rest of the West Coast and maintain our competitive nature. So sources and uses of the capital projects fund. Right now, we are looking to transfer $3.4 million from the general fund to the capital projects fund. Historically, we utilize $4 to $5 million of general fund monies that are transferred to the capital projects fund for capital projects. This year, we're proposing $3.4 million for transfer. There's a beginning balance in the capital projects fund of $10.2 million projected as of July 1st, 26. That $10.2 million has been basically projects that were prior approval from this board in the last couple fiscal years and that have not been completed. And as you see down in the uses, you'll see those carry forward projects. Some of those projects were for the Livestock Event Center, which were canceled with the transfer of the Livestock Event Center to the Department of Agriculture. So we have extra funds available in the Capital Projects Fund. And then most importantly, we're proposing an issuance of a $25 million bond. So those uses would be for the $5.9 million of carry forward projects that had been approved by this board. REC projects of $6.6 million. RSCC projects of $24.5 million, and then $200,000 in contingency for a total of $37 million. That would leave an ending fund balance June 30th, 27 of $1.3 million. I'd like to reiterate that those projects probably won't be done in 1 year. They'll probably carry forward, but we wanted to show that there would be an ending fund balance of over $1 million. One of our strategic initiatives or priorities is to have at least $1 million in the capital projects fund, kind of as our rainy day for capital projects. So that would show that we would be maintaining that $1 million in the capital projects fund. So going through, these are the carry forward projects. These projects had been approved in prior years by the board. As you see, they're primarily for the convention center. Nothing really that exciting. A lot of them are just repairs and maintenance of the facility. And that's one of the things we wanted to point out. Most of what has been going on since 2001 have been repair and maintenance, fixing roofs, fixing chillers, fixing boilers, repairs and maintenance. Very little has been done to enhance the facility and make it more customer appealing. So these are projects that will continue on and will be done in this coming year and were approved by the board. These are the projects that are being proposed as part of that $24.5 million plan for the convention center. It's in reverse order. It's in order of amount of the budget for each of those projects. I'll go quickly through them. I think you've all heard me go through it already ad nauseum, but I'll go through them. Basically refreshing all the restrooms. Only about 4 of the restrooms have been touched. A lot of the restrooms are, the newest ones are 25 years old. Some are quite a few years older than that. You wouldn't expect to see that in any of your properties, and they shouldn't be in our convention center. So we're gonna spend $4 million to fix up the bathrooms. The air walls, a lot of the air walls are at least 25 years old. They need to be reskinned, repaired, rebuilt. That's $3.5 million. Chair replacements, a lot of the chairs again are very old. So we need to replace all the chairs. New carpeting throughout the facility, $2.5 million to recarpet. The outdoor sign, as you've heard me refer to it as the erector set. When it was built in 2001, was ugly and not very well received by the public. We in 2019 looked at fixing the sign. The sign, if you've seen it, it's rusting and the paint is peeling. Unfortunately, when we looked at it in 2019, we had architects and engineers look at it and what would be done to fix it. What would need to be done to fix it would have to take the structure apart, sandblast it, put primer on it, 2 coats of paint and reassemble it. And at the time it was $3.5 to $4 million projection of cost. So current estimates are probably closer to $7 million and then would still have a very ugly sign. The proposal here is to remove the sign, just the structure of the sign, keep the overhang and that would only cost about $250,000 to remove the sign. The remainder would be to fix up the front entrance to make it look attractive for those coming. The ballroom, fix up the ballroom to make it look like a ballroom. Exterior paint. If you drive by it on Virginia Street, you can see it's graying in certain areas. It needs paint. And anyone that's knows Nevada knows that you don't wait 25 years to paint your house. You shouldn't wait 25 years to paint your building. Needs exterior paint. Parts of the building had been painted, but most of it had not. Replace the F meeting room's roof. All the other roofs have been replaced in the last few years, but that is one of the last ones that need to be done. Refresh the outside landscaping. Open patio, that's the area outside the front entrance that we feel we could sell that area if we refreshed it up and made it a little more user friendly. A PA sound system, there is no sound system throughout the building. So if we have a citywide or a large event like volleyball, there is no way to do announcements all across the entire convention center. We would need a PA system, electronic room signage. I know this sounds like we don't have it. Well, we don't have it. That would be just a basically little electronic screen at each door saying what's coming up, what's at that room, and get rid of paper. That, I mean, basically enter the 21st century. Interior furniture, refresh the interior furniture. Admin front windows, actually, this is the windows are leaking, water isn't coming into the building, that's more of a health and safety issue. Refurbish the F and A meeting rooms, those are the most popular meeting rooms, they need to be refreshed, cleaned up. Exterior murals on the exterior of the building, again, to make the building a little more inviting. Parking lot C fencing. We've had some issues with intrusion into that parking lot area. So we want to fence that area, make it a little safer, digital signage, and I'm just gonna quickly go through redo the gate so you don't have to have a person at the parking gates. Some equipment, a boardroom, not for our board, though our board could utilize it, but a board that would be sold to conventions. So they could have their board meetings there. More equipment, concession tile replacement, drainage enhancements, skid steer, asbestos abatement, carpet removal for near the bleachers in the track area. And then a contingency, 10% contingency, just in case. So $24.5 million is what is proposed, and that would be funded by that bond that we're proposing. For the Reno Event Center, the last major capital program was in 2006, 20 years ago. Again, we need to remain competitive, operational efficiency, and meet customer needs. And basically, it's big project is new bleachers. The bleachers that we have there are literally having issues. Those of you that saw the pictures of them, the seats are over 20 years old, they're falling apart. The bleachers have trouble. We actually have to use a forklift to push the bleachers together and pull them out, and there's always a danger of it not being able to function. So those would be replaced. They would be similar to what you see at other venues that are new with cup holders, wider seats, more comfortable seating. Replace furniture. It's not just for the suites, it's also for what we call the green rooms, where the acts, the dressing rooms. I'd also like to point out that we medium actually make our dressing rooms part of his act because they were so undesirable. So we want to make them more desirable. And then scissor lift for actually just reaching the ceiling. Right now, we have to rent equipment to replace bulbs and other things in our building. So those are the projects. Any questions on the projects before I move on?
Vice Chair, and if I could just add to Robert's presentation, so in addition to obviously identifying the priority list, we also contracted with Brian Bonfont, who from the University of Nevada to do a feasibility study. Feasibility study is in your packets. Brian's here today. If you had any questions relative to the results of those feasibility study, be happy to address those now, or you can send us questions. We didn't want to make Brian present the entire feasibility study today, but be happy to address any questions if the board has them.
Mr. Fry?
Oh, thank you for that presentation. Let me ask the question. How competitive is our facility compared relative to other facilities of its size that we compete with?
For the commission center?
Yes, when you have a customer or guest coming to this community and they come look at our facilities, Where is the bowling stadium, the convention center? What do they say we lack? Where do you lose business
Yeah. So,
because of the quality of our facilities?
right, it's a great question. So this has been obviously a thought out, long process of going through, researching, evaluating other facilities that we feel are a direct competitor. We prioritize the list based on what we feel are the items that are potentially costing us business or not keeping us in a competitive landscape of bidding against these cities. If you look at, from a square footage perspective, from a city standpoint, and facilities that have invested significant capital in the last few years, you'll be looking at Seattle, Long Beach, San Diego, Denver, San Francisco, and then Nashville. Those facilities are all in the 350 to 600,000 square foot and have exhibit space in the 2 to 300,000 range. So those are the cities that we really identified to try to emulate based on what do those facilities have, or what have they done to elevate the maintenance, optics, customer service side of a convention center. When you look at just the meeting room size, and this is amazing that you would think that we'd be comparing it to a hotel, but you'd really be looking at properties in Las Vegas like the Caesars Forum or like Aria. They have 400 to 500,000 square feet of meeting space, and they have obviously significant advancements in technology that we would love to have someday. Those weren't the priorities that we identified right now, but I think to specifically answer your question, we as senior staff have identified areas that we feel are priorities today to keep us competitive moving forward for at least the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay, so based on this budget that you have proposed, you feel you will be competitive with our peers
We
in the
do.
industry?
We do.
So there's not gonna be something that a guest says you're missing a major feature here that with the advancement of technology and AI and that you should have had this component within your facility, and we are not gonna be able to use your facility because you do not have it.
I can't sit here and say the answer to that is yes, because especially as it relates to technology and AI, and it is no different from a stakeholder, a property, Atlantis, a Peppermill, a GSR, that is evolving and changing daily, not yearly, daily. And so we felt that if we were gonna make a significant capital improvement into technology, how long will that be relevant, right? Until it's outdated again. So we did not focus on technology as much as we did the other items that are on this list, because that is literally changing.
Yeah, Mike, I'm talking about today. I agree with you, things are changing. I just wanna make sure we have done our homework with other facilities of our size.
Mhm.
So when a customer comes to this market, we do not fall short.
Yeah.
Because we didn't do the job right. That's all I'm asking.
So, Robert, just remind me of one item that we have and we did hear as a challenge is our Wi-Fi capability. So we have upgraded that significantly through capital investment. We are now, I believe, still the only facility that has Wi-Fi 7
Correct.
of any convention center in the country, which is a huge advantage. So we have had situations, unfortunately, where we have had keynote speakers who were doing live streaming, where the live streaming dropped in the middle of their presentation. We want to ensure that those are the things that we never have to encounter moving forward.
Okay. But that answers my question, that by doing what you're proposing, that it would be competitive with any facility of our size.
We are comfortable with that. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I got one,
Oh.
if you can. Go back to page 5. So with like Las Vegas, they're $600 million in their convention center, and that's the old convention center that they've added on to. With $600 million, are they having to relocate some of the business there? Mike, you're very familiar with Las Vegas.
Yeah, so we actually, identify facilities that are going in construction, going through construction, or planned construction in the near future. And we pursue those opportunities. We had a site this week, from a group that is only host their event in Salt Lake City. They've only ever been in Salt Lake City. They're based out of Logan, Utah. Because of the construction in Salt Lake, they are looking at relocating for 5 years. I met with the CEO and he flat out told me, we are looking at Reno for 5 years and then we're going back to Salt Lake. So this isn't going to be, we're gonna come back to Reno Tahoe. And we welcome that. It's a great piece of business. 5,000 room nights, August, midweek arrival departure. And they were very happy with what we showcased, when they were here this week. So yes, we look at facilities that are under construction or scheduled to go into construction and reach out to those potential clients to see if they live at Reno Tahoe.
If I can, the finance committee, we actually toured, the Reno Spark Convention Center, and some of us might have toured the Reno Event Center. And going through the, this is almost maintenance stuff that we're doing. It's things that have the carpet, and the floor and the paint and, I mean, so I would encourage, John, I know you go through there because you're right next door all the time, but I encourage the entire board, the new board members to get out and see these facilities and see what we're talking about. You know, and I'm just thinking, you know, this program we have here, and everything needs to be done on this thing. It's really embarrassing when you start seeing the bathrooms. When you start seeing stuff there, it's just absolutely terrible. We've got good leadership here, and they brought this forward. I would encourage everybody to go there, and then how long, when you see that previous slide of all those cities doing expansions or remodels or renovations, how far in advance they look? Cause when I see us, what we're doing here is a Band-Aid to keep us competitive. Otherwise, you're gonna start losing business, and you're already losing business already. So it has to be a plan that's gonna be out there 10 years. And by that time, some of this stuff might have to be remodeled anyway.
Yeah, some of these projects that we listed, Denver, Salt Lake, Las Vegas, those are 3 to 5 year projects.
So anyway, I just wanted to mention that the finance and our committee went individually. You can't have a quorum, but we went over there and saw the Reno Event Center and the Reno, and I encourage everybody here to set up a schedule and do it, because it's really important. It's a mess over there. I shouldn't say that. It's not a mess. It's a clean mess. I think the staff's doing a great job, and Chad, I think, does a great job of moving his people around the different facilities. But we can clean this thing up, and the new bond is gonna help us do that.
Thank you, Mr. Crono. Councilwoman Bybee?
Actually, what I was gonna comment on will segue right with Mr. Corona. Because the three of us went together. I know you were trying to schedule your pre-boards. Wanted to thank you for that. Boy, what an eye opener. Because a lot of times we go in for an event and we're focused on volleyball or track or wherever, why we're there, and you're not really looking at the walls and the air walls that are all weird, and you're not walking outside and seeing what looks like tire trucks have gone up the side of the building. The sign, oh my God, we can't get rid of that sign fast enough. Since I've been on this board before, it really is an erector set that, but really it was enlightening for us to see the bathrooms, to actually see the carpet, to see the ballroom that's not really a ballroom. Because when you're looking at a $25 million bond, you know, as a fiscal conservative, I'm like, okay, I mean, that's a lot of money, but it's not, because this is kind of a step above what we've been doing in the 6 years I've been on this board. Has been all maintenance. It's been roofs, it's been HVAC, it's been maintenance and repair we've done. And this is just like a step above that to kind of do a little remodel and refresh. It's not what ultimately will need to be done, but it's a step in the right direction. And I appreciated getting to see on the ground made a difference and really made me realize how much we can do now, but how much we need to do moving forward.
Thank you, Councilman Bobby, for the comments. I think you really hit the nail on the head, because even us as staff, a lot of times when board members or myself, Robert, we're over there, it's for a press conference or to see an event. And when you have thousands of people in the building, it's very easy to hide what you can't see. But when our sales team and Renee's team are doing a site and there's no one in the building and it's just them and the client, you see it all. So very relevant.
Thank you. Mr. Bellis?
Got a couple questions. As far as the convention center, I know the presentation said that it's been since 2001 before there's, we haven't had a significant amount of capital improvements in 2006 for the event center. I get that this is kind of a catch up, but going forward, is there a schedule to have regular capital improvements spaced out so we're not
Yes.
in this waiting
Great question.
mode again?
Thank you for that leading question. As we go forward into the future years, we looked at, we don't want to spend this $25 million and where's this, where's the funding for that bond going to come from? Are we going to pay for it? Are we then just going to get back in that situation? Part of this was, and if you go back, it's prior, the sins of our past. When the expansion was done, people didn't put any money into the convention center for many, many years. Same thing with the Reno Event Center. I hate to say it's other facilities. So then you get to the point where you're behind the 8 ball. So with this proposal, what we're looking at is we're going to continue to be able to have capital funding. So we're not going to stop capital funding in 28, 29, 30. We will still have $3 to $3.5 million available based on current funding. We will still be able to have money available for capital projects. So those capital projects will continue to be done. So we don't get behind the curve on our maintenance. So we can get back, and you want to do your carpet on a normal schedule. You want to replace your chairs on a more normal schedule. So now you're not all of a sudden having to spend $20 million or $25 million to catch back up. You're spending the $3 to $4 million every year to keep your facilities in the proper shape they are, and you're using cash flow.
Thank you.
So, debt service.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just one
Mr.
question. Thank you very much. Back to Mr. Corona's point about just kind of these seem like more maintenance issues. Have we looked, because that conference center was designed so long ago, have we looked at, making the bathrooms larger and, reconfiguring certain things? Some of those restrooms in the high use areas there seem like they're kind of small for the amount of people in that building. So my question is, have we thought like to go bigger here?
So at one time, 2000, I'll date myself now, 2006, 17. 17, 18, Ben Molly or another end. We did conduct a feasibility study on the opportunity of an expansion. And the board at that time did not approve it. And the direction out of that entire exercise was to modernize the facility to make it the best of the best at 600,000 square feet.
Okay, I think maybe you're misunderstanding me, not the whole building, but
Yeah,
go bigger with issuing a bigger bond to do construction in the existing facility to make it more streamlined.
we didn't entertain the opportunity of expanding or regrowing or making the restrooms larger in the example you used. I think that would entail significant amount of money, significant construction in the out of service standpoint of being able to still accommodate groups. That's the other thing we did take into consideration when we prioritized this list is what can we do that will allow us to do it in phases where we won't interrupt business as minimal as possible. And I know you could do bathrooms and 3 at a time, whatever it may be, and take them out of order. I just without being a contractor, the assumption is that the cost associated with redoing bathrooms in terms of construction would be significant.
Sure.
Yeah, but fair question.
Okay,
It was still a long ways to go, frankly, to utilize this facility. Is if you take out all the local events we have in there, what's the occupancy of that without any local events?
So we've been broken it down by exact number. I mean, when I started, Mr. Bronny in 2017, the building was running in the low to mid thirties occupancy. We're now in the mid to high fifties. If you backed out the local events, I'd say we still are over 40%. But to your point, and that came up in the pre-boards as well, is that there were questions that were brought up by board members about should we be bonding more? For whatever it may be, whether it's making the bathrooms larger or advancements in technology. And we just really felt that the times that that building is really utilized for room night producing business is when you have obviously a larger piece of business in the region. So whether that's a citywide or close to a citywide. And in order to attract citywides to Reno Tahoe, it has to be, for the most part, a regional type event where there's a significant drive market of the attendees. Because you're looking at your volleyball, you're looking at Jam on It, where they take the entire facility. In order to attract a citywide that is bringing people from all over the country, that requires them to fly here. In order to fly here, what we have experienced in a region because of our restrictions on air seats is that for the 2 days that the majority of the arrivals come in, for the 2 days of the majority departures, is that one of two things happens. Either those attendees are having to make multiple stops, which is inconvenient and really works to a disadvantage to us. Or two, because of the lack of availability of seats, the airlines yield better than anybody. They yield those seats to a price point where now you're $1,200 to $1,500 to fly from Florida to Reno for an event. And so to your point, which is valid, is we to invest significant amounts of money and expand that bond. Does that solve the problem of attracting more citywides? No, it doesn't. It's really focused on their levels.
I'm not suggesting to expand. I would not expand Atlantis if we were 40% occupancy. It would be.
We would like you to build a new
It
town.
would have been broke. So, no, I'm suggesting that we have a long ways to go to utilize this facility to its potential before we could ever think of expanding it. At 40%, this is, as I said, it was a independent facility, you would go broke in no time. So, and that's what I want to talk about when we talk about the budget and that for next year.
Yeah.
What do we need? What the team needs? You're the CEO of this company or this organization. What do we need so we start utilizing these facilities?
I mean, one of the things we need, which you're probably not gonna like the answer, is we need more inventory adjacent to the facility. One of the biggest challenges besides arrival departure patterns as it relates to airlift is walkability and the ability to not have to rely on transfers to bring people from the GSRs and speech and entertainment downtown to utilize that facility. If you look at convention centers that we compete with, and a great example is Salt Lake, is they have the ability to accommodate the majority of their attendees in Nashville as well, within a walkable distance to the convention center.
Well, it's always chicken and egg issue, so in business.
Just answering the question.
No, I appreciate what you're telling me, but again, this facility has had much shortcomings. I will not be able to compete with our facility if it was in a condition like this convention center is. So all I'm saying, you need to come to this board, please, in my mind, if I was in your seat. This is what I'm gonna need to do that. Now, you said rooms, okay, that's one element. But there are, I know of many other elements that have caused us to lose business here was not because there was not enough room directly across the street. And as I said, one of the major ones is again the shape that facility is in. And then what do you need as a team to be able to sell this facility? Now I'm going to be questioning, why do we have to have local events in these facilities? Our mission statement is to bring tourism to this community, is not to have a banquet for this organization, that organization. That's not our mission statement. So I am questioning whether we should be taking the resources and putting the resources where it fulfills the mission statement of this organization.
Fair question. And we take direction from the board. And when we wrote the strategic plan a year and a half ago, one of the core pillars of that board, which we'll present here in a little bit, was to activate our facilities. So that's where we were now. We're happy to address that. If this board tells us to go in a different direction, we will pivot.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I like to have that to be as part of this process of going over budgeting. Again, how are we going to bring tourism to this community? Tourism helps the airlines bring air service, cab driver, the restaurant. It impacts the whole community, as we saw. You saw the numbers for April. Why? They had all those girls volleyball teams in this town. You saw the impact. We know it. So the key issue for us, where do we put our resources to accomplish that goal? And I do not believe today we are doing that.
I hear you. And I actually think that we are well positioned as a board to be able to answer that question and to drive that mission. We are sitting here as advocates for tourism, air travel, all of those types of things. And some of the biggest, most impactful people who can make those changes are at this table. So I would love to have that conversation. And I think as part of our strategic plan and our budget moving forward, I think we have thoughtful leadership here who are, taking the opportunity to make our facilities competitive. But I think the longer term question that we should be looking at is how do we remain competitive and what are we doing to bring folks here and making Reno a destination, right? So I completely agree with you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Are there additional questions? I know we have a presentation to continue.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all for the thoughtful discussion. Mr. Chisel.
All right, debt service. So we are talking about issuing a $25 million bond, but I thought I'd go back to, we have one bond currently outstanding. This was for the 2001 expansion of the convention center. Originally, it was about $105 million bond. Again, early on, it was an interest only and a cab. So a lot of it was back-ended as far as the principal payments. It was refinanced in 2021. The final payment date is July 2032. We have about $4.6 million in bond reserves, so the bond will technically be paid off in July 2031 with that final payment. Currently, there is about $38 million outstanding on that bond principal. So what we're looking at is an additional bond issuance of $25 million. The proceeds would be arrived about December, January of this year. It would be a 10-year issue, a very mid-term, medium-term obligation. The first payment would be due in July of 2028, the next fiscal year. Again, to fund those improvements we just listed at the Reno Sparks Convention Center. Currently, we are based on the numbers we're showing are based on a 3.9% interest rate. We think we could do better than that currently. We don't know what interest rates will be in December, but we have estimates that if it goes up over 4%, we're still fine. We're requesting the issuance through Washoe County as a subset of Washoe County as the Fair and Recreation Board. The county can issue our bonds. And the advantage there is we take advantage of their better bond rating. So we'd get a better interest rate. And those bond payments would be wrapped with the existing bond that we just talked about. So I know this is small, but just this is what the bond payments of a $25 million bond payment or bond would be over the following 10 years. And more importantly, this shows what the bond payments are with the existing bond. And as you see, currently our bond payments are about $8 million. We have a 2% Reno Sparks Convention Center room tax that is earmarked for bond payments. That 2% currently earns about $9.5 million a year in room tax. So that's why you see those numbers. It kind of coalesces with that $9.5 million. So currently our bond payments are about $8 million. They would go up to about $9.5 million until the other bonds are paid off. It would go down to about $5.5 million. And as I said, we spend currently about $4 to $5 million a year on capital. Our intent would be to reduce that capital down to about $3 million. This $25 million would get us ahead on a lot of projects, get the facilities cleaned up, get a lot of problems resolved. But we would still have money available to do capital. So we're not short-terming ourselves. We're not getting where we're not doing capital. In the future, we're still doing capital. And then in 2032, when we pay off the other bonds, we would have additional resources available for other things as the board deems appropriate. Just shows the debt service fund, bond proceeds of $25 million. We have interest income on bond investments. And there's $8 million bond payments. Any questions on the debt?
Councilwoman Bybee.
Real quick, Robert, you said the, right now you're anticipating, hoping for a 3.9% interest on the new bond, and we could do 4. If, and I like to be the optimist, so this is not optimistic, but if at what point, if those interest rates raise, do we have a pain point that we can't go above if it went up to 4.2 or 4.3?
Well,
would that limit us?
It would limit us, and we would have to readdress it at that point. You know, it's hard to say, you know, probably 4.25 would be the pain point where I'd say, hey, we really need to reevaluate where we're going. We actually think right now we could get it lower. So the 3.9, we probably could be around 3.7, but we kind of, to build these numbers, we went to 3.9. If anyone has a crystal ball and can tell me what interest rates would be in December, please let me know. I have some investments I need to make. So yeah, we will address it as we go along. The plan is in June to come to this board with a bond resolution. We'll go to the Washington County Debt Management Commission probably in July or August, depending on when their meetings are scheduled. Those of you government types will know about the Debt Management Committee. And we will work with Washington County Commission to go through the issuance and look to issue in December timeframe.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have to say we're fortunate to have Robert on board again. He is the dean of these processes from my past experience. He's capable, he delivers, and it gives me a lot of confidence that you are in charge of these processes.
I agree, Mr. Farahi. We have been talking about how to keep him here. So,
And we won't do any auction rate securities, no cabs, no, yeah.
no, I appreciate that. And I think you're absolutely right. Mr. Chisel has certainly had to weather his fair share of questions from me. So, I'm very grateful to you for the work that you've done here as well. All right.
So that is capital and debt. And now we'll go on to the most exciting part, the budget itself. Which will.
Technical upgrade.
Again, you know, I apologize. I know a lot of you have seen this a number of times. But you know, we go through this budget development process. The strategic plan that the board adopted last year is an integral part of it. We do revenue projections, and I know as we get into this, our revenue projections that we built this budget on, the revenue numbers have changed dramatically since this process started for the better. So we're in even better shape as we go through this process. We look at our debt funding requirements. What, again, part of what we looked at the $25 million is what can we do without hampering our future obligations and operations. We look at NRS, there's a lot of NRS requirements that we must adhere to. We look at the CEO objectives, we look at our capital improvement plan, we look at department requests, and we develop that budget. It goes to the Finance and Facilities Committee. They reviewed it and there was a recommendation for approval. They reviewed it on May 8th. It then comes to you all today. And based on your approval of any changes, we will then submit it to the Department of Taxation for their review and approval.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I may, I want to elaborate a little bit on the Finance and Facilities Committee review. That is chaired by Mr. Carano. There was a very thoughtful discussion that was had around the numbers, the budget. Multiple times, he keeps mentioning that we've done this multiple times. This is true. This is probably my fourth budget analysis on this item. And so I can't overstate the thoughtfulness of the committee members. Ms. Andriola also thoughtfully participated in that. Again, we went and looked at the facilities. So I understand that this is a compressed process that we have here to get this over to the state for approval and those types of things. But there has been thoughtful committee review. We are aligned in terms of where we're at on the recommendation. And I personally have scrutinized and stress tested this budget for mid-year softening, other things like that, that I've tried to take into consideration as we look to fund our capital improvement program as well. So just for my colleagues, I want to provide that reassurance that there has been thoughtful discussion amongst the Finance Committee and thoughtfully led by Mr. Cronin. So thank you, Mr. Luzinko. Yes.
And my ask question is, I apologize. I was not in town to participate in board meeting discussions. And what we talked earlier about where do we put our resources to bring more tourism, how that question relates to this budget proposal.
I think, and please chime in, but I think the answer to that question is in the investment in our facilities, where we're not engaged in a deferred maintenance process and protocol. We're making an investment so that we remain competitive, so that people will choose to come here. Certainly the airport, I think, also has a role to play in that, right? We are building projects, we are improving the airport. One of the questions that I asked in our last airport meeting was, what are we doing to be thoughtful about making Reno and the airport itself a destination like so many other places? How are we encouraging people to come and participate and really engage with what Reno has going on? I personally believe that Reno is at this really magical point where we're getting a lot of traction. We're not seeing the softening that we're seeing in Southern Nevada. We have a lot of interest, but we have to be thoughtful leaders to ensure that we are able to collaborate and come together so that we can continue that momentum. We have to make Reno a place that people want to come. And then when they come here for a convention or for their kids' sporting event, they go home and say, we want to go back and explore more about what they have to do. I think the first step in that through this budget process is making the needed improvements to our facilities.
How about where we are putting our resources? Again, I do not believe we should be booking banquets in the convention center, local events that do not bring tourism. That's not the purpose of our mission statement. So if you're putting, I'm going to be asking Robert, how much is this costing us for that end of the business? And then my next question is, from Mike, is What would it do? How many more salespeople do you need? Where are we lacking the reach to bring more tourists to this destination? So that's, again, to me, that's a very important question about regarding this budget, where we putting our resources, limited resources. So I like to ask that question as Robert goes into this process. How much are we investing in that part of the operation? And Mike, how many more
So
salespeople and quality salespeople? And we don't have, I know we don't have a VP of sales and marketing right now. Where are we in that process?
But I think I can address some of those questions now, and you, Mr. Fry, you will see this in Robert's presentation. But we absolutely made a conscious effort to allocate funds to support driving more tourism. And examples of that you will see is in staffing. You will see a recommendation to hire an additional regional director of commission sales, taking us from 7 remote offices to 8. You will see that we allocated more money into marketing, a slight amount than we did previous year, because I truly believe that you don't push the bet when you're losing, you push it when we're winning, and we're winning right now. You will see that we continue to allocate 1.75 million into air service, of which in addition to that, 250,000 goes to RASC. So we have allocated funds to support opportunities as they're presented, whether it's new routes, existing routes that are struggling, or routes that are doing well, to make sure that we're marketing to those major legacy carriers and routes that we obviously want to keep and routes we want to expand to. Nashville is a great example. We allocated between RASC and the RSCVA $500,000 in marketing starting for that October flight on Southwest of Nashville. Facilities, as the vice chair mentioned, travel and entertainment, you're gonna see it in the sales department and in the tourism sales department. We again allocated more money in those line items to go up, because you have to go out and travel and get the business in order to get them to come and see the destination and convert that business. And then FAMS is the last thing. We allocated more money into our FAMS because we truly believe that there is still a large portion of this country in the business segment, in the MNC and tourism segment, that are not familiar with Reno Tahoe. And you know, as well as most of the stakeholders in this community, that if we get them here, we will win more than we lose. We convert more than we lose. So we have allocated more monies in all those areas to drive more tourism.
So, for example, we've been talking about, we have all these companies that have moved to this area.
Yes.
And there was discussion, I believe, Madam Chair, you brought up a couple of meetings ago. These companies have their conventions, their regional conventions, maybe the national ones are too large for us. Where are we in that process? How many people we have working on all these
So
companies that have moved here?
So our Director of Business Development, Marcus Johnson, he heads that area, working directly with representatives from the individual properties and EDON. We have an entire list of all those organizations. We call on them, we solicit them, and we ask them to consider our destination, to bring their regional, corporate, association, national meetings to Reno Tahoe. It's
What are
not,
the results? What have you seen? What have they told?
we have not had tremendous success, and a lot of those reasons why, as I would guess, Mr. Fry's, is the same reason why the properties have struggled as well. Most of the companies that are relocating offices here are in distribution, are in areas that are not sales and marketing. Those are not part of those organizations. So when we reach out to our contact here, yes, they're providing the introduction for us. But it does not resonate into an opportunity to relocate that meeting to Reno. We're trying, I can assure you, the efforts are there. We have a program, bring your convention home. We have resources, we have marketing materials. And we do make those calls. It's an area that and I can't tell you why, sitting here today, we have not had tremendous success, but we have not. As much as we give ourselves accolades in the numbers and the performance and the success story, we also know that there are things that we have to get better at, and that's one of them.
I believe there are opportunities there, Mike. I really believe, and I'm gonna ask our sales team to talk to some of these companies, find out why. I don't know the reason.
Yeah.
But I intend to do that to see why, because if you be successful in bringing them to our community, that means they are committed here, they like it, they have done the research about it. And here we have an incredible opportunity to draw from that business. So I'm a little bit surprised that we are not successful in getting some of that business to this community. And then the other part again, as we go in this road, I'm gonna be asking, how much are we investing or in this budget for bringing banquets and events to the convention center and other facilities where does not meet the mission of this organization?
Very good.
Thank you. Oh.
Yes, sir.
It's just an observation for me and is in my history of working downtown, I wouldn't have a local event that's usually booked a lot closer in. Local events are booked maybe around 6 months out. A out of town tourism events can be booked more likely 1 year, 2 year, 3 years out. I'm not gonna let, in our business, I'm not gonna, I'd rather have that. The rooms be filled up with out of towners, but if I don't have that event center filled up. Hey, I want my catering department calling people, hey, I'll do your wedding there, I'll do that type of stuff there. I think that, John, I think it's number one, this board is very lucky to have you on it, by the way. Because you're bringing up things that a lot of us
Being most kind, I sometimes I feel I have to
no, you
don't say much because I don't want to dominate
no,
the discussion, but it just, I feel responsibility on this board like you do, and I thank you for your comment. We just want to do what is right for our community. We all have a responsibility to this community.
you're doing great. Madam Chair, you said some good things a few minutes ago, and what it made me realize for me is, does anybody remember, was it our slogan of Reno, twice as friendly?
Twice as exciting, twice as inviting.
Twice as friendly, twice as excited, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Our slogan, we had a slogan the other day, so.
It was Reno, twice as exciting, twice as inviting.
Yeah, and I thought there was a friendly in there too. But at the end of the day, our facility isn't gonna get bigger overnight, you know, and we may have to do a 10-year plan out there. But what we're doing right now with this $25 million bond is getting us so we can be competitive for the next 70 years. And so that he can have luck booking some of the business in the Reno Event Center, the Reno Convention Center, the National Ball Stadium. I mean, Reno's on a roll. Hey, you guys see at the end of June, we're gonna have a record year in room tax and room revenues. But not only that, I mean, we're beating the record by a long shot. We're gonna be over $500 million in taxable revenue, and that's incredible. So we're on the roll. And how do we jump on that roll and keep it going? You know, this taking care of these facilities and putting some money into them right now is a big part of it. And then, and I hate to say it, sooner or later we get down to our budget for 27, because 27 is gonna look like more like 25 instead of 26. But that's where we need to take advantage of Reno Tahoe too. Reno Tahoe is on a roll, you know, and we all one big community and make it happen, because next year will be a tough one. At any rate, I just I appreciate, John, everything you're saying here, because you're bringing me back into the business too.
Well, I agree with that, Mr. Crono. I value your insight and your comments. I think too, I just want to make the point that I've had the opportunity to spend time with the team, the senior leadership. This is a dynamic and engaged team who are very, very good at their job. So we as a board, I think I would challenge everybody to be thinking about more ways that we can each be engaged, because I know that that matters when we're trying to win business here in Reno. They want to see an investment from property owners and the community. When we were in DC, it was very impactful, though I fail to see why. It was very impactful that, you know, I was there, that there was a board member who was there willing to engage with our customers and to be able to talk to them about the opportunities that are in Reno. And so I think that it's for us, each individually, it's more than meeting, you know, once a month. We have an opportunity to really engage and make the change that we want to see here. And I think that we can capitalize on that. So that would be my challenge to everybody. I'm certainly willing to put in my own time to be able to do that. And I think we have a really great story here. So I'm just very proud of the team and Mike for the work that he's doing here. So, thank you. Okay,
Okay,
tell us about it.
so, budget will be submitted to the Department of Taxation. One of the things I want to reiterate as we go through this. Our revenues are exceeding this year's budget, and if things continue, our projections will probably exceed next year's. So the budget that is submitted to the Department of Taxation is not set in stone. It does not come down on, it's not, it can be changed. So we can augment or adjust the budget, or the board can augment or adjust the budget in the coming year if it so desires that it needs resources in a different area. We always try to be more conservative in our budgets so that we don't spend money we don't have. So on page 36 of your budget book is the state document. That's the first page of it. That is what is required by the Department of Taxation to be submitted to them, and that's in the form in which they want it. I'm going to go into a lot more detail than what you see in the state document because it's fairly accounting-esque and kind of hard to understand, so that's why we do this budget presentation. As part of this budget, we look at our financial policies. One is to maintain a 15 to 17% fund balance in the general fund. This budget, it has an ending fund balance of 27%, which is above that goal. Our capital reserves, we talked about it, budget to have $1 million in capital reserve. We'll have 1.3 with that capital budget proposal, and maintain a rainy day fund. That reserve up on top does not include the rainy day fund of $1 million. That is also separate and above that. So we are maintaining those three policies. Other board initiatives the board has adopted in the past that we are also maintaining: the air service fund of 1.75 million, special event funding of 2.3. There's 500,000 for special event marketing sponsorship program you heard about, 300,000 for name, image, and likeness, 500,000 for a special event opportunity fund for sales, and $1 million for at-risk promoter. That's in the sales budget. Those were approved by the board in prior meetings. Our budgeted revenues, we're budgeting 51 million. As you know, most of that comes from room tax and surcharge. As this budget was prepared based on March numbers, April is, and what looking at May is exceeding any of our even most wishful dreams. Thank you, properties. We are actually looking at probably even now, those projected revenues for 26 are probably a couple million short of what when we built this budget. So I will get into more detail onto the room tax, the surcharge, and facility revenue, but this kind of comparing budget to budget. Our budget expenditures are $59 million, and as you know, yes, that is more than our budgeted revenues. Our fund balance is higher, so we're utilizing the fund balance. Projected expenses of 55 million on budgeted expenses of 64 million. This is a breakdown by category of our budgeted expenses by projected budget for 26 and budget for 27. The change from budget to budget. Most of it is down. As I go through this, you're gonna hear kind of a similar discussion point of why there's big changes. Livestock Event Center is no longer part of the RSCVA and USBC. USBC Open was this year, and with 140,000 room nights and 22.5 hours of operation at the bowling stadium, we're very busy in those two areas, so that's impacting our revenue and
You
expenditure.
paid 22.5 hours.
Yes, is that right, Chad?
22.5 for 128 straight days.
Were they playing with slots that long too?
No, but they are all around. I've had lots of friends tell me that whether they're at the golf course or at another casino or another restaurant, they're running into bowlers all around this town, so.
Yeah.
They are getting around. Budgeted revenues. Just kind of reiterate, I know you all know it, but I'll go quickly. Room tax, we collect all the room tax. We don't keep all the room tax. It goes to our partners, the state, the county, the cities, and Incline Village, Crystal Bay Visitors Bureau. So there's different categories, different districts where the room tax is broken up. Room tax budget, when this was built, we were projecting room tax and surcharge this year of 46 million. Up over prior year, and we're projecting a budget of 44 million for 27. As we know that things are changing, so we're now looking at more like $48 million for our projected room tax and surcharge. We are keeping our budget at 44.2 for 27. Again, we are being conservative. We know we're conservative, but it's easier to augment because you have more money than to try to cut after something doesn't come in.
Are you ensuring that everybody gets a bonus because we met the budget?
Well, people don't get bonuses based on meeting budget. You have to meet budget. You can't exceed budget and so
So,
you get a paycheck.
so you don't pay bonuses in this organization?
There are bonuses, but it's based on their goals. Their goals,
So goals are not financial?
they're financial, but not on room, the overall room tax budget.
I have to come take a class from you, Robert.
Is that a lot? We like this one.
Again, here's overall room taxable revenue. We know the room tax revenue. You know, right now we're looking at room tax revenue of 481 million for this year. Our guru is thinking we may make 500 million. Which would be a nice thing, knock on wood. Depends on how May and June. May is looking really good. You guys probably know better than we do, whether we're gonna hit it. However, next year, we don't have the USBC open, and the USBC is exceeding even our most optimistic estimates. It's probably gonna be over 140,000 room nights for USBC open. So we're looking good. Room tax revenue, this is our projections, and again, I know as many have told us, we are very conservative in our numbers. Again, we want to be conservative, so we don't spend money we don't have. Facility revenue budget, it is down. Again, there's two things that are going on. We do not have the USBC open, running 22.5 hours. And we don't have the Livestock Event Center, but we won't have the expenses associated with the Livestock Event Center either. So I'm gonna go through those categories on the budget. Expenses, payroll and related. Our budget is 18.4 million. It's a decrease of 2.2 million. We are projecting an increase of 10% for health insurance. Our health insurance is January 1 through December 31st, so we don't know what it's gonna be, but we just know health insurance goes up. We are proposing 2 additional positions, one of them a temporary overfill of our room tax manager position. Unfortunately, he is looking at retiring. If anyone should be kept from retiring, it should be him. He knows more about room tax than probably any 20 people in this community put together. We are also proposing an addition of a regional director of convention sales.
But you basically adding one, not two. One is retiring.
Yeah, so it'd be an overfill, so for a portion of the year, we'd have,
When was the last time we put our health insurance getting bids out there?
we do it every year. We bid it every year, same with our property and casualty insurance. We, through our broker for health and, health insurance is LP Insurance. And they go out and bid it every year. And it's been a couple of years since we changed plans, but we have a high deductible health savings account plan here.
Thank you.
Supplies and services. Budgeted to decrease 2.9 million. The big changes are the USBC Open not being here and the Reno Sparks Livestock Event Center, and we will go through by departments as well. This is by category overall. Insurance expense increase anticipated. If anyone's watching what's happening in the insurance market, you know what property and casualty, and if anyone lives in the outlying areas, you may have had your fire insurance or homeowners insurance canceled. So we're anticipating an increase, and hoping not, but we're anticipating. Travel and entertainment budgeted to increase 89,000. We are adding the position in convention sales. And there are increased travel costs, but we have to go where the customers are, so there is a slight increase. Promotion and advertising, again, a small increase in marketing of 274,000. Air service is remaining the same, budgeted to remain the same. We're continuing the RASC support, and the big thing is the Nashville this next year, 250,000.
That could be, does that be annual, or is that be, oh, we don't know yet.
We don't know.
It's a short 1 year currently.
Yeah. Is that normally what we do is we supported to kick it off?
Yeah, so that was part of the agreement in securing the flight with Southwest was a marketing commitment.
Special projects, budgeted to decrease 1.8 million. Funds that are come out of that go to the USBC to bring them here. Also went to the American Bus Association, so there's some changes there. Other categories, small equipment, this is outside of our capital improvement budget, it's 174,000. It's IT related, your real exciting stuff. Sorry, Chris. Computers, servers, routers. Contingency, we have 200,000 has not been used in recent years, and it does require board approval. Then the apportionment, this is what goes to the Incline Village Bristol Bay Visitors Bureau for SB 477. It is budgeted to decrease 68,000. So now going through budget by department. This is facilities as a whole, and I'll go through facility by facility. As you can see, overall a decrease, again, USDC, RSLEC. No, I sound like a broken record. Convention Center, slight increase again, health insurance, merit. We are not doing COLA raises. We are looking at only merit up to 3%. And so your normal COLAs have been eliminated. And one of the things we like to look at whenever any position becomes vacant, we always analyze that position, look at that position. Does it need to be reclassified? Do we need it? Does it need to be used somewhere else? So we're not just automatically refilling positions as they become vacant. We're always looking at positions. Repair and maintenance, even though we are going to be doing a lot of capital improvements, these facilities are old, and we in the process of fixing them, we still need to fix them. Other increases, other expenses were reduced. We're trying to be more mindful of, for instance, temporary labor and other expenses, so those are going down.
So on utilities, I see we have foundation center, we spend over $1 million a year.
Correct.
Have we looked at to put solar panels because that's a flat roof and see what kind of return we can get on
Unfortunately, the solar panels, when we looked at it before, the turnaround is almost 30 years. By the time you put the expense of putting the solar
Yeah, but-
panels up,
Yeah.
we did look and have a contract to look at putting geothermal in. As you know, we have geothermal down in the area of the Moana pools. And there was a company that was looking at putting a well in and running a geothermal line and a heat exchanger at our facility. They were gonna front the cost and it just didn't play
it?
out.
They went kaput, we were talking to them too.
Yeah.
But what I'm asking, the panels have, the cost has drastically come
Yeah.
down. We are looking into it, but we don't have enough flat space for that. But with our convention, with that huge flat space, it may be worthwhile for us to look at it one more time.
Yeah, we could look at it again. When we looked at it before, the issue is your roof, how much, the structure can hold. The other thing is would be into the covering, the coating there. You're creating intrusion into that cover, and so there's cost to that. And so we did look at it, but we can look at it again as we go forward. Put that on our list. It's probably been 5 years since we looked at it.
Good NV Energy.
And
sitting right here.
NV Energy, I'm sure will give us a discount.
We talked about it.
If they're on our board, they should give us.
I did have a question though, as far as energy efficiency and those types of programs go. I mean, do you, I guess I should.
Yes, we have to
Do
take
you
it.
have a major account rep assigned from the energy to kind of walk you through that?
Yeah, we have gotten a number of rebates from our friends at NV Energy, our favorite power company. For doing such things as LED lighting, which LED lighting was a big energy saver for us. Most of the facility has, I'd say probably 90% is converted to LED. There's still a few areas where it hasn't happened, but that was a program that NV Energy had for that, and that was big savers.
Well, I'll make sure to connect you with the appropriate folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. That'd be great.
But we did project a slight increase, but I'm sure NV Energy is gonna lower their rates, but we'll get to that. The bowling stadium, again, there's a lot of decrease, no USBC next year. We do have some increases in payroll, but it overall is a decrease for health insurance. So that's US bowling stadium. The Reno Event Center, again, we're really focusing on reducing our temp labor across the board. So there's decreases there, decreases in a lot of other areas, we think, as we get that facility up and running. And my favorite facility right now, well, in 4 days, and 12 hours and 10 minutes, who's counting? The Livestock Event Center, we just have the $1 million payment for the Livestock Event Center. Convention and sales, this is our sales department. There's an additional position in there, so there is an increase in that related to the additional position and health insurance for the other positions. Travel and entertainment, there was a slight increase in there because of the site visitations in the new position. Special projects were reduced, the USBC numbers are in there. So that's gone. In the special projects for the budget of 2.6 million, 100,000 is for USBC because actually the event goes into this fiscal year into July. It's been so popular. There's a special event opportunity fund of 500,000, the at-risk promoter at 1 million, and sponsorship and concessions of $1 million. Tourism sales, this is an example of where we reanalyze positions. There's a decrease in payroll and related. Travel and entertainment is up again, going to where our customers are. We need to go see them. And that, not very exciting, but that's tourism sales. Marketing, travel and entertainment up slightly. All right, actually, it's down slightly from what we were doing. The big change is 250,000 for RASC is now going out of the air service fund. So marketing actually has an additional 250,000 in their budget above and beyond what this is. Air service, we talked about 1.75. The executive office is the big change there is the 50,000 for promotion and advertising. That was for unsolicited proposals going from 50,000 to 100,000. That is a transfer from the board of directors fund that went from 150 down, and there it is, going from 150,000 to 100,000. And the board of directors, really not much change other than that. Finance, there's quite a bit of changes there. There was increases for health insurance, of course, and overfill position, that room tax manager position. Decrease from position reclassifications in there. And the finance director position being vacant for a portion of the year might come out of supplies and services. But next year, there's gonna be a decrease in that for, as I exit the building. And there will be increased insurance expense in there, so there will be some changes in that. There is a decrease in general services revenue. That was, the change in the agreement with the city of Reno for the management of the bowling stadium and the Reno Event Center. Human resources, a small change in that. We used to have an internal service fund. The internal service fund was for self-insurance of the employee health insurance and for workers' comp. The employee health insurance stopped being self-insured in, I believe it was 2011. The workers' comp was no longer self-insured in 2016. So therefore, the internal service fund didn't meet the requirements of an internal service fund because our workers' comp, the one claim we had outstanding that was in the self-insured fund, reached the reinsurance level, and so it is no longer in there. So we rolled that expenses into the human resources, so that's why you see a slight increase in human resources. As with most government entities, there is retiree medical that we have an obligation for. I'd like to say we are two-tiered, so that does not count for any new employees, but for prior employees, they were have that ability to have retiree health insurance. So those are where those expenses are. IT, the main change you see there is supplies and services for software licensing. Unfortunately, software costs keep going up, so we're taking that into consideration. So any questions?
All right.
You're going to give me the number, please, Robert, for how much are we spending on the team that we have here that books banquets and local events at the facilities?
Yeah, I'm sorry, so I asked Renee to put together a report, which I'm happy to share with you. It shows the revenues generated through business that is attached to room nights, revenues that were generated to business that is not attached to room nights, and the expenses allocated to both. So happy to show it for the convention center.
I would really greatly appreciate it. Well, you really frankly, we need to do it for all facilities. Again, any all for expenditures that are not directly related to bringing tourism to this community, we need to look at. Why are we doing it is not directly related to bring tourism?
Thank you. Are there additional questions from board members? Okay. Well,
Thanks. At this point, if there's no changes to the budget, I would seek approval of the budget as per the resolution. Oh,
Okay.
thank you, legal counsel.
Thank you, Chair.
yep, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to, first of all, is Chris still in the room by any chance?
So.
Farewell. Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank him for his presentation. And then, Robert, outstanding job, and John, thank you for giving him up here a little bit. Yeah, that's good. I think, we're heading the right direction with the bonding, to take care of our facilities. That's one thing that we have to do, and the special event funding that we've got to kick off new special events. I'm glad you're keeping that started in 2007. I think I was on the board at that time. And then, so I'd like to make a motion. Thanks again for the presentation, Robert. I'd like to make a motion to approve the following. I'd like to approve the following for recommendation to staff, by staff. The fiscal year of 26-27 budget for food and beverage from Airmark. That's one. Number two, I'd like to the fiscal 26-27 capital improvement plan in pursuit of the associated bond. Number three, this move to approve the special events marketing sponsorship program funding, and then board to move to approve and present by staff the RSCVA budget for fiscal year 26-27. Realizing that if we are kind of compared to 1.5 and 1.6 is 26 with an outstanding year. And so 26 again was 26 is a record year. So congratulations on 26, but 27 would be a different year. And so staff did look at that and kind of compared a little bit more towards 25, not 26, but Reno is on a roll, and with that, I'd like to just make a motion to approve those 4 items. Again, the food budget, the capital improvement budget, special ed marketing sponsorship program funding, and the overall RSCVA budget for fiscal year 26-27.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, do we have public comment?
No public comment at this time.
All right, so we have a motion and a second.
Discussion.
A discussion, yep. Mr. Fry.
I appreciate what you have said. All I'm asking, first of all, I think this is very conservative budget. I think we need to be aggressive. We need to be, we shouldn't be going backwards a year. Well, that is my one issue with this budget. And then the other part is, Madam Chair, about the discussion about our overall policy or philosophy or plans. How are we going to be putting our resources where we can get tourists to this community? So when are we going to be discussing that issue?
Well, I believe our strategic plan is the next item on the agenda, so we can have that discussion then. And then I would also like to get with you to see how we can better plan to get your questions answered and addressed, and whatever that looks like in terms of a future agenda item, so that we can be thoughtful and give everybody enough time to engage in that discussion.
Thank you.
That's what I would like to do, if that's okay with you, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay, is there a further discussion on the item? All right, so we have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. We'll close the public hearing on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Nice work. Yes, that's actually
Thanks.
a good effort. Okay, so we have, item E2, which is the presentation, on the board approved 2026-2028 3-year strategic plan and the achievements of the fiscal year 25-26 annual plan, the review and discussion of our fiscal year 26-27. And I guess I acknowledge we've gone a while. Do we need to take a small break? A fiver? Okay, that's okay. We'll be in recess for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Well, I need your,
Sorry.
This is our boss.
Which last one?
Thank you for indulging us in a brief recess. I appreciate it. I've already called the agenda item for E2, which is the discussion and presentation regarding our strategic plan. And so we
Thank
have
you.
a presentation. Yes, go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you, Madam Vice Chair. It's my pleasure to introduce Cameron Alvarado from On Strategy. For those of you that have been on the board for a while or previously know that we have engaged On Strategy to assist us in writing the strategic plan for years. I think we're over a decade now. And so before Cameron jumps into the presentation, I just kind of want to tee up and remind the board of how we got to this point. So in February of 2025, when we started the process of writing the 3-year strategic plan, in the past, the plan was really driven by staff, and it was really a sales and marketing plan. And we decided, I decided to completely pivot in a different direction and make this plan about our community, make this plan about feedback from our business leaders, our business owners, from retail, restaurant, to our stakeholders, to the airport, to Eat On, to RTC, to our board members, to staff, to On Strategy. And so we started the process, and you're gonna see a timeline here in a minute from Cameron, but we started the process with a quarterly stakeholder meeting, and it was all dedicated to the strategic plan. And I believe we had over 50 people in attendance. And we did sample questions, confidential, through a plethora of different areas. And this is really the results of all of the feedback from all of those groups. Again, business leaders, retail, restaurants, stakeholders, gaming, non-gaming, airport, RTC, Eat On. And then we engaged our board members individually for their feedback. And then we had a session with senior staff and On Strategy. We brought all of this data together. And this is how we drafted the 3-year strategic plan. Today, Cameron will go through the plan in general. She will show the results of what we accomplished in 25-26. She will show our goals for 26-27, and then there'll be a discussion about where we want to go in 28. We are asking the board to please provide us any feedback as it relates to pivoting a different direction by June the 5th. And then upon that time period, we will come back at the June 25th board meeting and present the plan for approval. Today is informational and action item to address the structure and the policy and basically how we want to conduct the plan for the approval on the 25th. Okay, Cameron, want to say anything?
No, I think that was
Okay,
a great
good.
setup.
Great.
Thank you. Okay, good morning. Thank you all for having, well, afternoon now. Thank you
Yeah.
all for having me here. We're gonna keep this pretty succinct. I'm gonna take you through the overview of the strategic planning process. And then as Mike mentioned, we're gonna go through a few slides on our plan, highlighting a few areas specifically, and meeting my clears. There we go.
There we go.
All right, so starting with our mission and vision statement, knowing that the mission statement is the strategic foundation for the organization, the core purpose and mission. Attracting overnight visitors to Reno, Tahoe while supporting the sustainable growth of our communities. So at our core, that is the RSCVA's core purpose. Going to our strategic direction, so where do we intend to be, where are we going? It's not our current state, but where we hope to be in the next 5, 10, 20 years. To be the preferred outdoor gaming and event destination. I mentioned this to say our strategic plan and the 4 goals that we're going through today all point back to the vision statement of where we intend to be in our future state. Mike mentioned this, but just to give us the high level of the strategic plan purpose. So again, this is a unique plan. In 2015, the plan that we built was specifically addressing feedback from the community, from stakeholders, from the board, from visitors. And so you'll see in our plan and in a few areas where we call out the RSCVA's role specifically, we are focusing on regional priorities that require cross-agency collaboration. So this is sort of unique in that it's not just a plan for the RSCVA, but sort of for the region and for the destination in total. Our planning process timeline, so if you served on the board last year, you'll recall a few check-ins we did, but we did start with our stakeholder perspective. That was the previously mentioned quarterly stakeholder meeting. We're going to show you the results of what we heard in that session in just a minute. We also engaged the board leadership of the organization in understanding their strategic direction, so that took place via one-on-one interviews. From there, we conducted a senior team offsite. At that offsite, we synthesized the information that we heard from our various points of information gathering and our stakeholders, leadership and board. From there, we came back for 2 check-ins, both to present the draft strategic plan, meaning the strategic direction in total, and then also to present the final plan for approval, which included the annual plan. The annual plan that we refined again post-board check-in with the direction. So I think it's really important. We're gonna go through what we refresh on an annual basis in the strategic plan structure. But just to go through some board priorities, these are not ranked or prioritized in order, but this is what we heard from the board last year. A few ones to highlight here, at the top, our destination and infrastructure development, elevating signature events and venue utilization, and then so on and so forth. You'll see these are pretty common themes that we hear from the board. Diversifying the visitor experience was a little bit of a unique one. And then really importantly, down there at the bottom, the strengthening regional collaboration and stakeholder engagement. So that was a high point of focus or priority for the board last year. And then to discuss some stakeholder priorities, these actually are ranked in order from what we heard from our stakeholder input session. Of course, there was a lot of data that went behind this, but to summarize it in 5 key areas: maintaining air service, the signature events and attractions, regional transportation being somewhat of our outlier, a little bit outside the purview of the organization, but important to stakeholders nonetheless. Enhancing our retail and shopping options, and then investing in multi-use and outdoor facilities. So you can see, you know, the stakeholders are looking for really that rounded visitor experience that people expect when they come to Reno Tahoe. So on our plan structure, so again, that vision is where we're always aligning our plan. It's our North Star, our definition of success. What we would consider the strategic plan are those first 2 levels of goals and roadmap, and then the strategic initiatives. That is our long range strategy. So typically we are not touching those 2 levels of the plan. We refresh those lightly in our annual, but really at our 3-year mark. So knowing that strategy takes time, in order to have a strategic direction that we're pursuing, we need the time to do so. So our strategy from levels 1 and 1.1 are typically those longer range areas. Our annual plan is what we consider tactics and down. Those are what we refresh on an annual basis. That's what we're covering primarily in today's conversation. Those are the hows we will achieve the overarching strategy. And then of course, you'll see in some cases, the rolling over of tactics from year to year, just because some of those hows or those projects are a little bit bigger than an annual timeframe. Our performance scorecard, so we're adding the most exciting part up here at the front of the presentation. It is not filled in for FY26. So since we're doing this presentation, I believe it's still May. We would be looking at April numbers, which is a little bit misleading for where we want to end up. We show you this slide to tell you our FY26 targets that were previously established and where we started in FY25. And then also where we're going for FY27. This slide and this scorecard will be completed at the end of the fiscal year and presented, I believe, in August. Okay, getting some head nods. So when we're discussing a bit more of the qualitative or project type aspects of the strategic plan, do know that our measurability is in this performance scorecard. These targets are what all of our projects, our tactics, our initiatives align to, even when it's not called out directly measurable in the strategic plan. Okay, we have 4 strategic goals. These are not ranked in order of priority, but they are urban core revitalization, making a difference in urban centers, vibrant spaces for visitors and the community. Venue activation and event attraction, so hosting diverse events to maximize visitor engagement. Visitor access, so that's speaking to a little bit of those transportation priorities that we heard from stakeholders. Yeah, easy access to local attractions and venues. And then finally, the internal piece of the strategic plan, which is working on the RSCVA as an organization and the employees organizational sustainability and performance, so aligning people, process and purpose. We are going to go through similar structure for each of these goals. We're gonna dig in a little bit deeper, starting with our role. So as I mentioned previously, this is a somewhat regional plan in that it requires cross-agency collaboration to achieve some of these big goals. So we started with defining our strategy in terms of what does the RSCVA influence, what can they drive, and where do they play more of a supportive or partner role. So each of our goals calls out the role of the RSCVA in achieving that mini vision. Related to urban core revitalization, we know that this organization is responsible for driving use of the facilities, advocating or partnering for transformational projects with regional partners, and then supporting visitation by the work that they do day in and day out with marketing assets. Our vision of success, so some community collaboration to make strides to improving specifically the downtown district, Thread Square and River Corridor, sort of the geographic focus of this goal. We want to see the river integrated as a central feature and then an urban core that offers a mix of activities for guest experience. This is a bit of an eyesore. Actually, many of these slides are a bit dense, hence our covering a few key pieces in each of them. I show you this slide to show you our roadmap. So where did we start? With our, in this case, 3 strategic initiatives for the urban core revitalization. Where are we today? So what's been achieved year to date in FY26 and where we want to be. So what is our long range target? So a few things I'm going to call out here. In our first strategic initiative, we want to see 60% of visitors go downtown. That's up from 47 in FY27. Fully utilizing the river as a tourism asset. So we want to see a clean river that offers recreation and aesthetic value, and then making it easier for visitors to experience Reno Tahoe. Really the hallmark of success in that is that visitors are combining multiple experiences into their stays and visits. So then getting into the nuts and bolts of the annual plan, just reorient, advocate for an activated, vibrant downtown is our first strategic initiative in this area. We're reviewing the FY26 and 27 tactics and actions. And so what I would call out here is really that first action, growing the Riverwalk visitation about 32%. Nope, I'm on the wrong slide. Expanding our insider advantage and discovery partnerships. So that third action that you see over there in the FY27 category. So providing options for visitors to access different businesses, some deals on food and beverage, that sort of thing. You can see, you know, there's a goal around events and capital improvement projects in this area as well. Our second initiative, fully utilizing the river as a tourism asset. This is where we have the goal of growing the Riverwalk visitation about 32%. The organization will be achieving that through paid media, earned media, and owned content focused on the Truckee River. So another big focus in this goal around up-leveling and uplifting the river as a tourism asset. And then finally, our third strategic initiative, making it easier for visitors to experience Reno Tahoe. This goal really, one of the things that we'd like to highlight here is the expansion of visitor discovery tools. So knowing that the way that people are planning their trips or ingesting data or researching their trips is changing just with the changing technology landscape. Staying responsive to the ways that visitors are accessing information or will be planning their trips. Big focus for this area. We're going to move on into venue activation and event attraction, our second strategic goal, unless there are any questions on our first area around urban core revitalization.
Do we have
Just
questions
as they come.
from our members? Okay, go ahead, thank you.
Excellent. All right, venue activation and event attraction. So again, starting with our role, the role of the RSCVA is in driving event bookings at the venues owned by the organization and throughout Reno Tahoe, driving events with event producers in order to achieve those event goals, and then advocate for infrastructure improvements near event venues. So again, a bit of a mixture of a driving and a partnership or advocacy goal. Our overall what success looks like are modern upgraded venues, so really happy to see that we had the budget presentation in advance of this presentation. Our venue being fully utilized, so we specifically received direction from the board last year to even out those midweek and seasonal lulls. So providing infill to those really big events that are taking place typically during the weekends. And then pursuing opportunities for new festivals, concerts, and events. So this slide mostly just to show you, we actually have, these are the first 3 of 5 strategic initiatives in this area. To call out a few targets. So related to the RDC, our long-term FY 28 target is hosting 45 events a year. RSCC tracking convention business, focusing on an advanced and clean, sustainable convention center with appropriate technology, amenities, security, and safety to host those large-scale conferences. Our next 2, so you'll see there's an initiative per facility essentially. Creatively activating the the bowling stadium. So really the focus here being around activating the theater and other venues for local events or regional events. And then this final strategic initiative, attracting regional events, targeting arts and culture, food and beverage, sports and music. So the goal here actually focusing primarily on the sports category, and we'll be reviewing that in the initiative. So RSLET, no need to spend a ton of time on this goal, but the action for FY 27 is to continue to sell and promote the venue, anticipating 15 room night generating events, primarily in equine, happening through the venue sales team. Activating the REC with concerts and other events. So we would like to go from 37 occurring in FY 26 to 40 events hosted in FY 27. 15 of those will be concerts currently currently 10 in the current mix of 37 were concerts. Maintaining and expanding the RSCC for track and convention. So we are moving to host 245 events with 9 conventions in FY 27. That is up from 230-ish events with 9 conventions and 12 track events. So that will be a flat number. However, the goal here is to increase the number of athletes per meet. So flat meets, more people attending each. Creatively activating the bowling stadium. So we're going from hosting 125 events in fiscal year 26 to 130. Don't throw anything at me. Without the USPC, so that's a good thing to note. We're also looking for 45 events to happen in the additional venues that they are activating. So Kingpin Theater and Stadium Club, that's right. And then our final strategic initiative around attracting regional events. Again, the focus here is primarily shifting to be around those sporting events. So you'll see a few actions proposed for FY 27. The major goal is that we're achieving 4 new sporting events. We're going to move into visitor access unless there are any questions on event activation and facilities.
I don't see any questions. I think you can continue. Thank you.
Everybody's hungry for lunch. Okay, visitor access. So this goal is a little bit unique in that the role of the organization in this area is primarily a supporting role or a partnering role. So supporting our partnerships in air service development, advocating for increased shared transportation ridership, and then advocating for local tourism infrastructure in high traffic areas. That is the role that the organization plays. What success will look like: maintained airlift, a focus on routes from regional hubs, walkable spaces in, again, sort of those urban core type areas that we were mentioning in the first goal, and then increased options for visitors to participate in sustainable travel options if they'd like to when they come to the region. 3 major strategic initiatives in this area: supporting air service, encouraging sustainable access to and from Lake Tahoe, and being the voice of the visitor in getting around the community. where we'd like to be, so around growing and cultivating relationships, increased ridership to the lake and improved walkability in some key areas. Our first strategic initiative, supporting air service development. So the thing that we're highlighting on this, in this area is working with RTAA, RASC, and regional partners to promote air service directly to airline representatives. That was also a goal in the previous fiscal year, and I believe the team could speak to some progress that was made with some of those new regional flights, such as Nashville. So continuing that approach, encouraging sustainable access to and from. So the focus here is around supporting ridership. Again, looking for some shared transportation options for people to go explore the region. And then being the voice of the visitor and getting around the community. So the focus here is around activations at the Reno Tahoe International Airport. So how do we see that experience, that great experience for folks as soon as they land in the region from the moment they step foot here? Activations at Reno Tahoe International Airport, specifically at special events and for large convention arrivals. So hoping to conduct more than 10. And then finally, let me ask if there are any questions.
Are there questions from the board? I'm curious, Mr. Larangetta, I know that we've had presentations from Mead and Hunt, but have we had presentation from air service development team at the RTAA, and would that be helpful as we look to bring in comments for these types of, or on the strategic plan again?
Yeah, we have not, Madam Vice Chair, had presentations directly to our board. They have presented to RASC.
Correct,
Right.
yeah.
But yeah, I think it'd be great. We'd love it.
Is that of interest to our members? Would you guys be interested in something like that?
Yes.
I know a guy, so maybe we can get that done. I will put that on my list of things, but that might help us inform how we want to make some changes. Or be more thoughtful about air service development. So, okay, great. Thank you.
All right, our last goal, home stretch, around organizational sustainability and performance. So obviously this being an internal goal, this is fully within the control of the organization. The role being around delivering solutions that strengthen organizational employee performance, supporting employee well-being, and then empowering people as they promote the destination. What a success looks like is employees are connected. So they trust their leaders, they're satisfied and committed. We measure that through surveys, pulse checks, and retention metrics. And then also around team operations for clear processes, so on and so forth, to deliver those business goals. Two major initiatives in this area, the first being supporting employee engagement. Our focus there is always maintaining those employee satisfaction benchmarks in the 85 to 95 range. And then advancing organizational capabilities. So this is around universal workplace safety culture, cross training, all of those sort of areas. So to go through the first initiative in supporting employee engagement. The thing to highlight here is that third action over there on the right. So increasing cross-functional communications continuously, and then also the delivery of the newsletter to drive that information dissemination throughout the organization. And then our second strategic initiative around advancing organizational capabilities. The major focus here is that first action over here on the right-hand side. Around cross-training for shared services across venues. So knowing that makes employees happier and then also has an impact on bottom line. Any questions on that final goal area?
I don't see any.
So then as far as next steps, our intention is, we know that this is a lot of information and we can only share so much in this meeting. But you all have the packet. Our ask would be that you fully review and read the strategic plan. We'd like to get feedback to staff by June 5th. From there, we will take that feedback into consideration, integrate it into our plan to present the final FY27 strategic plan on the 25th. And then lastly, as mentioned, the follow-up or the wrap-up of the 6th plan will be the KPI scorecard progress presentation to her.
Yes, Mr. Fry.
From what I gather, this is based on community information that you have received, which is fine and dandy. What is your research on about the industry and how convention authorities have been effective? What areas you need to concentrate on? Where is the business? How we go after that business? Where is that story?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. So a few different places. One major part of this is we do rely on the knowledge and the brains of board members from our initial input, from senior staff, as we went through both our interview gathering as well as our offsite session to build the plan. So that's a major wealth of information that's not to be underestimated. And then the second piece of that is all work that happens in our lead up to the senior staff session that took place in April last year, I do believe. We produced sort of like temporary working documents for that, being a discussion guide which lists out the current state, economic trends, headwinds, so on and so forth. Now, I will say, as far as business to go get, that primarily lives, Mike, correct me if I misspeak, but in the sales and marketing plan.
Right.
This is more so the overarching approach to obtaining that business.
Madam Chair, I think we have much more in-depth study that needs to be done about this industry as a whole. Which, for example, which market is successful in the United States, which market, why? So we learn from them. I mean, it's fine and I need to get information from us here and locally, but with all due respect, there are many markets that do it much better than we do. Like I want to learn how to run hotel casino. I don't just look at Reno. I try to see outside who does it better and learn from them, go look at the facilities and all that. So I want to urge that we bring in that element, and maybe that's for June 5th, because I'm just thinking from top of my head, there are going to be other issues, and I would like to meet with you before June 5th to learn from success of others and prior to our destination.
And we did hear last year Boise. Actually, we asked a question specifically in the stakeholder session, which included, stakeholders for the organization and community members. I can go pull up what exactly those cities were, but modeling ourselves out of Boise, Nashville, and there were a few others that were mentioned for us to go specifically look at.
Thank you. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I do think that maybe the next time that we get together is the time to direct some type of action with respect to gathering more information, data, whatever it is that we want to look at. I also know that these meetings are publicly available, so we can get a date, we can go back and watch what the board was discussing as they were developing the strategic plan. I was not yet on the board at that time, so it would be helpful for me to do that as well. But I think that that is probably the appropriate time for us to direct what information we want to get as part of any modification to the strategic plan. But I have noted that. Okay, yes, Councilwoman Peak.
Just comment on the downtown, the urban core revitalization as we look at the river and making, the river core value. I'm looking at things that are kind of outside the river and downtown core. That what is our role and what is our ability with any kind of authority or jurisdictional ability to impact. I mean, we can market the river and things going on when there's festivals or art town or whatever, but really some of this is outside of, and it is regional, and you talked about that. It's regional, whether it's the properties, whether it's the cities, the county, working with them on the river, on downtown, so Victorian Square, and downtown, having more people in our urban cores. Is some of it just, like you said, some of it is advocating, some of it is, it's not necessarily action. we can advocate, but we can't necessarily take action, just like the transportation that they talked about, that the stakeholders wanted more, regional transportation. Well, that doesn't fall within the RSCVA at all. It doesn't fall even within the city of Sparks. But is it more things that are a priority that we can work with the stakeholders or the entities that can enable those changes and can actually take action? Because those things in particular kind of jumped out at me as like, well, it sounds nice and it's a good thought, but what can we actually do?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And our role in Urban Core, it is primarily an advocacy role, as you mentioned. And I think one of, the reasons why we lay out the plan in this way and call out areas that we want to see movement, but maybe can't affect as closely, is because all organizations run the risk of, well, you need to do X. It's like, well, we don't have the jurisdiction to do that, or that's not our place in space. And so our intention is to lay out, the role of the RSCVA and urban core revitalization is driving use, advocating for transformational projects with regional partners, so doing the role wherever we can, provide muscle, and then supporting visitation through the assets that they have, and within the core scope of the organization.
Yeah, because those things all came out of our stakeholder, which I loved. I loved going to the stakeholders in the community to make them a part of what we look at doing. And so maybe that first step that we're doing in this strategic plan of opening that to those outside stakeholders that we're here and we want to collaborate and support them expands greatly what this strategic plan is compared to the last strategic plan that I was a part of. So I do support that, but it's just, God, how do we actually do that? We want to see it happen, but it really, what you're saying is more advocacy. Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. I think maybe to your point and to Mr. Farahi's point, and it's certainly something that I'm interested in. I think part of what the discussion needs to be is around how do we execute and follow through. It's one thing to have a plan, but if we want to inspire and see change happen, we know what our role is, but how do we engage the partners at the table to make sure that we can have a thoughtful discussion and possibly implement some of these things? I'm a firm believer that rising tides lift all boats. And so if we're making meaningful investments in our community, we're going to see the return that we're looking for. But it does require an investment upfront, in my opinion. So, but I think that's a very good point that you're making in terms of the execution, in terms of what that looks like. Okay, so my next question would be, we need feedback to staff. Mr. Larangetta, what is the appropriate method for us to get you our comments? Or is it to you? How should we do
Probably
that?
through the board clerk to Mira, to send to them, to Mira, and then, today the action item is to have the board approve the process, agreeing that June 5th, we will receive the feedback. June 25th, we will then present the plan for approval based on that feedback.
Great.
As far as, but that's where we can pivot.
Sure, sounds good to me. Do we have a motion to approve that process?
Chair, I would have issue with that.
Okay,
By just giving staff our comments and then discussing it on June 25th. We said we need to have that research done first of what we need to do to be able to discuss it and try to decide how we want to revise our plan. I think the research is critical before you make decisions. So I'm afraid you're rushing through this without giving it enough time for the research. I think the first step should be getting the information. What do we need from the research that we can discuss? And I don't think, again, I'm repeating myself, we're rushing it to me.
okay. Well, I think that we can, this is for possible action. I think that there's an opportunity to make a motion that you would be comfortable with.
I would like to make a motion that, go ahead, please.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Crono.
are we on a time limit? The annual budget, we're on a specific time limit that we had to have the plan to the state, tomorrow, because that's the June 1. Are we, on a plan, on a time frame, specific time frame for this? This is just reviewing, right? Reviewing.
This, yeah, to the annual plan, obviously, this video is gonna be July 1,
We signed the annual plan. Right,
the annual plan.
yeah, this is the strategic plan, right?
Yeah, right, but the annual plan is part of the strategic plan. So it's a 3-year plan, and then there's an annual plan.
Okay, so when is this, what's the date on this?
There's no specific
Oh,
timestamp.
okay.
Generally, we would present this in June, July, or
Yeah.
August.
Okay,
This was moved up at the request of the board. So, no, there's not a specific time.
we, in the old days, we used to do a workshop of some sort of, or, John's wanting to. I think, I'm not gonna say, I'm wanting to hear what everybody has to say out in the open, that the road would be. I've been to a lot of these, events held at the, convention center someplace, or at the.
Board retreat.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd like to have board retreat, some that we could actually sit down. But we have a lot of new members here, a lot of new members that, do we all understand what we're here really to do? You know, I mean, I think that's what John's asking, I mean, John's got the wealth of knowledge that I wanna get. But I mean, I want everybody to experience, everything that we have here, so it's, and then say, okay, yeah, let's go down this road, let's go down this road, let's go down this road. I do believe, downtown really, needs to come together, and we need to bring the whole community to that. But as far as what the RCVA is here to do, what we're here to do is generate room nights. And help you and help direct you in doing that. And it seems like it's tough to do that, without getting around and talking it out. In the old days, we used to have a stakeholders meeting where stakeholders, the people who showed up were really stakeholders.
We invite them every quarter.
Yeah, I know, I really do. They don't, I mean, what's a stakeholder, and, CEO level,
And Glenn, we need to do our research. That's why we have a research. We are not, all of us are busy. We have our own businesses to run that. I think a research company needs to do much more in-depth research. I appreciate what you're saying, but that's just very, to me, partial information that we have here. We need to do much more in-depth research, and you present where are the most successful convention authorities in the country? Why are they successful? What it takes to be successful? I want to learn from like we do in business. I always learn from our competitors. So you bring that information to us, that again, each one of us are busy doing our own work, so we can discuss it, and that then we don't need to, by the next meeting, make that decision, a strategic plan. We need to take a couple, 2, 3 meetings till we get to a point that hopefully we have a consensus of what needs to be done to move forward.
So I'm hearing a need for more research and information, and the desire to have a collaborative discussion around where we're headed as a board and what that board direction looks like. I do want to be sure, though, that we are not holding you or your staff up in terms of any goals, benchmarks, any important items that would rely on us approving the annual plan. So can you answer that for me?
I mean, I don't think again, this isn't time sensitive, right? We'd love to have the plan in play and know where the board wants us to be and where our priorities are for 27, 28. But maybe the answer is this would take multiple meetings. But if I'm hearing what Mr. Fry is saying correctly, the word supports us is maybe can we focus on one particular area per month, come back with the research as it relates to sales, marketing, facilities, something like that. Bring that all together so that we're not trying to do it all in one meeting. So for instance, maybe we do research as it relates to marketing, right? What are we seeing out there that is that if our competitors and other destinations, that they're focusing as their priorities to be successful in marketing the destination for FIT. Sales, whatever it may be, and Christina brings that back with on strategy, reports on that, and then next sales comes back from a sales perspective, and then facilities. Maybe that's a fun.
I mean, I like the way that sounds. What are your thoughts, Mr. Crono or Mr. Jacobs?
There's more and more along the lines of being on track. I think, I mean, I'd like to continue learning what this organization is trying to do, you know, and I know the challenges we're mentioning, you know, air service is a huge impact to what this success this community has. You tried to answer John's question on that a few months ago. But so, what we're, you know, I don't know how much we're actually spending on air service. And you know, we don't have to discuss that now, but we got a $1.75 million budget, and I don't know how much we use.
It varies by year, depending on marketing ask requirements, and we did it. And yeah, it varies by year. I don't think since we upped the air service development fund from 750 to 175, I think she went to 3 at one time, yeah, back to 175. I think the most we've spent $500,000-600,000.
Yeah. This next year, we do have the 250 for RAS, the amount for Nashville, and then we do always, it's documented on this plan, but we have dedicated air service marketing campaigns that specifically message nonstop flights. So it's separate from our leisure marketing plan that we specifically go after key markets that whether we want to retain access or build access from those destinations, and we have those dedicated marketing campaigns as well.
I'm sure.
Oh,
On the presentation, because I guess I'm one of the few that was here.
Yeah.
You were here.
Yeah.
You were here. You, me, and
The
mayor.
Yeah.
Right? To start the strategic plan, 3-year plan, and this is year 2. We just finished year 1, so we're in the middle of the strategic plan. It's really, to me, a broad, overreaching goals and pathway, and your North Star of what guides us, our mission and our vision, and it's bigger. I love, because we haven't seen this before that I remember, we could, where we started, where we are today, and where we want to be. So there's real specific numbers, percentages, things that are spelled out in all of our priorities. And I think that helps guide us directly. As far as what research you're looking for, Mr. Farahi, and I guess kind of how does that relate as this is what our plan is, but will it help us to get information from other successful destinations and where they're succeeding, where they're failing too, to incorporate into these goals that we have set. And really looking at what you talked about, Mr. Larragetta, breaking it up, you know, the next couple meetings and getting those numbers specific to, you know, marketing and sales and those specific things. It kind of dials in even more specific to the plan, because the plan is pretty over, which is what a strategic plan is supposed to be. It's your guiding document. But to Mr. Farahi's point, are we going in the right direction? Is this proven other places? Or are we looking at what's successful and how we can strive to be more successful by looking at some other numbers and some other models to continue, you know, the progress that we're making? But I really do appreciate the breakdown to put it in perspective, where we started, where we are today, and where we're going. And that guides us. I haven't seen that or felt that in other strategic plans, because then each year, because we're in the middle, we're not starting the whole big plan over. This is just 1 year of the 3. So really, I think where we are, this helps, but could we have more? And could we have comparables to help us see if that's what we want? And maybe that is what Ms. Farahi is asking for, that I think would also benefit and guide us in the next year.
Thank you, Mr. Fry.
This plan to me is homegrown. We need to go outside of the comfort zone and find out who is the most successful convention authority in the country, what makes them successful, what are the new trends, what are the new opportunities that other are tapping into that we may not know. I don't know any of this. And I'm saying for us to discuss these issues, we have to have done our research, so we have something to talk about.
I understand. I think what we're starting to see here is that there are a number of ways that we could approach this. And so I appreciate and understand that we're in the middle of the strategic plan. I don't know that the idea is to blow it wide open, but is there more information that's needed so that we can have a more thoughtful, focused discussion, I think is what you're asking for.
Well, no, I want to blow it wide open.
Okay. Well,
Plans are to be changed, plans are,
sure.
you have new information, I don't care for what plan it is. If you have new information, plan changes.
Well, I think though, okay, then, but before we can make meaningful changes, I think we have to get the information that you're looking for.
Exactly.
So the question is, what does that look like? I'm asking for guidance from this board. What do you want to do? We have to give our staff some direction here.
One of the thoughts I had is that, and I wrote this down earlier, is are we looking at kind of the right industry metrics? And so that we keep talking about research and looking at what other convention authorities are doing. That's great, but I think there's gotta be some leading industry metrics that says, hey, the best is spending X% of their marketing dollars to generate X% of revenue or whatever. I think to me, these might be the right tactics and the right goals and the way we do it locally here with our community to drive to those metrics. But I think for me, without seeing kind of those metrics, it's hard for me to kind of visualize how this fits in. This is kind of how I see it. So I don't know if some time can be spent on that or if those are off the shelf. Like I know in the utility industry, I can tell you right now, the 10 metrics that we track every day, and I can tell you where we're at. Some we're not good at, some we are good at, right?
So I think it's a great comment, thank you, Mr. Fellows. I think in some areas we do. I can tell you in the sales world, right? We know what percentage of the mix we want that is desirable by our stakeholders for the conventions set in the business. We know what the right demographic that our gaming partners are trying to attract. We know the value of comp, FIT, retail, food and beverage, room to guest room ratios. We understand all that. So from a sales standpoint, we know what to look. Now, the problem with that is, and I'm going specifically to sales because that's my primary background, is that what is desirable for an example of Mr. Fry's property might be completely the opposite for a Nugget in the Sparks. They're going after different customers. They're looking for a different mix. They're looking for a different arrival departure pattern. They're looking for different rates. It's hard to just have one set of metrics that is applicable to the entire market, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I think it's a good plan. I just don't know how we take that and apply it to everyone. That makes sense.
For example, what are the latest facilities in the country that is bringing segment of tourism that is growing? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe this $25 million, $24 million we're spending, which these are not some goals which probably have to do, but there may be something that we can bring within that convention facility that makes that convention facility that much more in demand.
Right.
Like we brought the, for example, there's a was the ice rink, not the ice rink.
The track meet.
The track meet. Thank you.
Yeah, I think like an example of like what you're referring to, Mr. Fry, is like, if you remember a couple of years ago, and it still surfaces once in a while, was esports. Everybody wanted to go after esports and convert either dedicated space within their hotels or a convention center to go after esports. And it's kind of moved to the back burner now, right? Because people learned how that Eastport customer, what they represent and the lack of room night, overnight spend and overnight visitation, and so they've gone away from that. But I think your point is that we should be doing, and we do, but we need to put it on paper as part of our plan as to what are we really going after and why.
But is that a sales strategy and not like a strategic plan for the?
It's more of a
organization?
business plan.
Yeah, so
It's more of a
it seems
business
like
plan.
we're combining a couple things.
That's what I was gonna actually say that, it's great point, Greg, is that, we say Mr. Moss. Is, that as part of our individual department business plans, those are the things that we
Yeah,
pursue on an annual basis. And whether, I think the question is, do we want to incorporate some of those departmental business plans into the strat plan? Maybe that's my dark question.
I think that's a good point. So I guess one of the things here is that we have these 4 priorities. And I think at the core of kind of what we're asking is, are these still the right goals for us? And maybe at the next meeting, what we can do is present the data as to how we got here. And so that we can answer that question first. And then move into how we want to manage this from here on out. Because I think that'll give some of the information, Mr. Fry, that you're looking for, is how did we come up with these 4 goals? And it's just a first step, not the total answer.
Yeah. I really do not look at why we decided those 4 goals or whatever. No, I'm looking at today, what are the opportunities in the industry, tourism into this industry? Where are we should be putting our resources? Where is the demand? Be the most successful operations and how we can learn from them, and maybe there's lessons that we can apply to our operations.
Yes, but I think that we're saying the same thing. Are these still the right goals? We need information to be able to answer that question.
Fine.
And so just as a first place to start, maybe we can see the data that was provided that helped form these goals. And then I would say potentially add some additional metrics to answer the questions that Mr. Farrar.
Research, I'm asking, where is the
Research.
founded?
Yes,
I'm asking for research before we make decisions.
I understand. And I think we all are pretty clear on what is being asked for. So to get, have the opportunity to be able to move forward, I guess the question is for this item, for E2, how do we want to do that? It sounds like there could be a motion with, some proposed changes, not as recommended here.
I like to make a motion that we do more research based on our discussion today. Bring that back to the board for us to discuss based on that research and then decide what's the next step. I don't think right now we can say what's going to be the next step, except that we need more information.
Okay,
And again, this isn't exactly time sensitive. The reason why this is even on the agenda today is because John, you wanted it on there, and so.
No, the sooner we start, the better. If
No,
no,
you did. Jump started, you did a good job, lit the candle, I mean, I agree. I think what you're asking is perfectly fine.
is that a second?
Yeah, that's a second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion as amended? Aye. All those opposed? All right, hearing none, that motion carries. Okay, so we are on to item F, which are board member announcements, reports, and updates. Do we have any updates from our board members?
I'm updated out.
Okay, well, I know, but I'm gonna run really quickly then through just a quick airport update for air service. While a timely topic, we had our strongest April in 19 years. Which I think is something important to highlight here. Additionally, I'm sure you guys have all read that we secured a $20 million airport terminal grant. And that has been a lot of work and credit due to our federal delegation for the help in securing that. That has been the largest award that was given to any small hub airport. And so I think that's really important. We have done a lot at RNO to secure our share at least of federal funding. And so that's,
Each one of our represents that senator.
it was a lot of collaboration, but Senators Cortez Masto and Rosen and Congressman Amodei has been a huge advocate for our federal funding. He prepared appropriations. Yes. Yeah, so that was a big deal.
The construction was scheduled.
Yes. And I don't want to jinx it, but we might be a little bit ahead of schedule.
How about finding a new CEO?
Well, you just took the words right out of my mouth. We had 43 applicants for interest in that position, which I think speaks to the big things that are happening here in Reno. There have been several stakeholder groups that have narrowed that down to 4, including our interim. Chris Jensen is on that list. There are full days of interviews and events happening June 1st and 2nd. The board anticipates being able to make a decision with direction to staff to negotiate a contract on June 2nd. Yes. So I have a lot of work ahead of me. But that is the update for the airport.
They
Are they good?
are they very desired applicants?
Yes, we have someone from the SFO airport, someone from Spokane, and someone who was formerly at Ontario and is now a consultant. And then, of course, our own Chris Jensen, who is our interim.
Good luck.
Yeah, well, thank you. We need it. Okay, so item G, or comments, public comment. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment at this time.
Okay. And item H is our adjournment. Do we need a?
Do you want me to do it or?
Right.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion.
Standard. Jacobs, thank you.
Second.